Chapter 110. You are as arrogant as ever. The heavily injured you are no different from a cripple. If not for you, in the battle of the century, I would have been the most powerful person in Shinue. If not for you, Sienna would have been my woman. This is a regret that I will never be able to make up for. But now, by sending you on your way, I can make up for it. So, Suyu, go to hell. This is your fate. Lu Guang shouted angrily. Divine Eagle Claw. The claw imbued with spiritual energy was like an eagle from the ninth heaven, swooping down and tearing apart mountains and rivers. Su Yu was heavily injured and his abilities were less than 30% of his peak. It would be difficult for him to survive such a claw. But Su Yu had his own trump card. Divine Ice Threads. Su Yu raised his finger and the divine ice ring emitted a chilly aura. Lu Guang, who was flying over, shuddered and his expression froze. When did you get such a terrifying ring? A bad premonition welled up in his heart. There is no need for you to know. Su Yu flicked his finger. Creak, a long, soft, and thin thread, as clear as crystal, flew out with a terrifying chill. Crack, wherever the thin thread passed, the sky, the earth, the rocks, the rivers. Everything that had a form was frozen. Lu Guang let out a horrible shriek. He realized that something was wrong and quickly dodged. But his arm was still hit by a strand of chill. Then, a scene that terrified him to the point of despair appeared. That terrifying cold aura actually froze his arm into sparkling and translucent ice shards. And it was rapidly spreading to the rest of his body. Su Yu, quickly retract your chill. Lu Guang screamed in horror. The fear of death made him forget to think. Creak, a soft, cold thread wrapped around his waist. Crack, the lower half of his body was instantly frozen. Su Yu, no. We are both from Shinue Island. Why kill each other? Lu Guang's handsome face was filled with fear and pleading. Su Yu's expression was indifferent as he lightly crooked his finger. Death is your fate. If Lu Guang had feelings for his hometown, he would not have appeared here today to take Su Yu's life while he was heavily injured. Crash, with a tug of the divine ice threads, the stream of light that had condensed into ice instantly shattered into countless shards of ice. After collecting the divine ice threads, Su Yu threw all the ice shards into the sea and left the place immediately. Half a day later, in the distance, Wu Pongyun's face was gloomy as he sneered. How dare you? Using the excuse of investigating the situation as an excuse to find an opportunity to slip away and hide? Princess Yunyan looked worried. Hunting the sea wolves pirates was dangerous and unpredictable. Now that Lu Guang had escaped, the strength of the team had decreased. Why don't we go back and invite Junior Su Yu to join our team? Princess Yunyan admired Su Yu very much. Wu Pangyun coldly rebuked him. He was just a burden. What was the point of that? Once we encounter danger, we will definitely be dragged down. 5 days later, on another remote island, Su Yu walked out of the cave, faced the sunlight and stretched his body. Princess Consort Yunyan's rejuvenation elixir has an excellent healing effect. It would have taken me 10 days to fully recover from my internal injuries, but it only took me 5 days. I must repay her kindness, Su Yu murmured to himself. Suddenly, Su Yu reached into his robes and took out a jade pendant. It was issued by the External Affairs Division and could determine their specific location. After thinking for a moment, Su Yu entered the sea and put it into the stomach of a live fish. Looking at the startled fish fleeing to the horizon, Xiao Chen's lips curled up in a faint smile. It's best not to let them grasp my exact whereabouts. Flying through the clouds, Su Yu looked for the sea wolves pirates again. It was not a large area with a radius of 1,000 miles. It was high enough that he could scan the general situation within 100 miles. Suddenly, Su Yu's eyebrows jumped. In his line of sight there was a whole group of people floating in the void. 2 figures were being besieged by a large group of people. He secretly approached and looked at them from 20 miles away. His face was dignified. There were 2 first-level upper-tier Holy Kings and 4 first-level lower-tier Holy Kings. They were dressed in loose robes and looked fierce. At this moment, they were besieging the 2 people. They were Wu Pangyun and Princess Yunyan. Wu Pangyun's blood was drained, and his fierce and arrogant face was replaced by seriousness and fear. His face was pale, and there were only a few traces of blood. His robes were torn, and there were many wounds on his body. He was bleeding profusely. Princess Yunyan's delicate body trembled. She was exhausted, and her forehead was full of sweat, soaking her beautiful hair. Her elegant face was filled with bitterness and despair. I will ask you one last time. Did you kill the Sea Wolves pirates named Bai Gu and the 10 half-holy kings? Did you take away the treasure of the divine ice ancient kingdom? Of the 2 first-level upper-tier holy kings, one was fat like a ball, but his eyes were fierce. The other was thin and short, with dark skin and an evil face. The 4 first-level lower-tier holy kings all looked fierce. Wu Pangyun swallowed the blood at the corner of his mouth and said in a low voice, "We have never seen it before. It was done by another person." In fact, both Wu Pangyun and Princess Yunyan had guessed that the 11 people killed by Su Yu were the members they were looking for. Moreover, the treasure of the divine ice ancient kingdom had also fallen into Su Yu's hands. But at this moment, no matter how they explained, they would not be forgiven by the Sea Wolves pirates. The fat holy king snorted, stubborn. "Take you down first." Whoosh, the fat holy king and the short dark man joined forces to kill Wu Pangyun. The remaining 4 first-level lower-tier holy kings besieged Princess Yunyan. "You 4. Go easy on her, don't cause any serious injuries. I will personally take her to bed and interrogate her later." The short dark man turned around and grinned. His evil eyes were burning as he sized up Princess Yunyan. Her delicate body was curvaceous. Her wide white robe could not hide her perky breast. Her elegant and noble temperament was like a goddess who had descended to the mortal world, making people want to conquer her. Such a beautiful woman with such temperament, appearance, and figure was rare. The group of Sea Wolves pirates sized her up with evil smiles, their eyes burning with passion. This woman was indeed exquisite. Princess Yunyan was ashamed and angry. She gritted her teeth. "Don't even think about it. Wu Pangyun might be able to die a quick death, but she would be humiliated to death by countless men." Rumble. The group of people quickly exchanged blows. The 2 first-level upper-tier holy kings joined forces and Wu Pangyun was forced to retreat, blood spurting from his mouth. Bang, with one palm, he was pushed back 10 meters and flew to the side of Princess Yunyan. "If Junior Su Yu was here, our situation would not be so difficult," Princess Consort Yunyan grumbled. With Su Yu's strength, they still had a glimmer of hope. Su Yu was able to face a first-level upper-tier holy king head-on. Hearing this, Wu Pangyun was furious and scolded coldly, "You still dare to mention him? If he did not steal the treasures of the Sea Wolves pirates, why would the Sea Wolves pirates gather and search for people in the 1,000 miles of sea? Moreover, with his level, besides dragging us back, what else can he do?" Princess Yunyan could not refute. She felt the eyes of the Sea Wolves pirates on her body. She was determined to die. "Let's break out of the encirclement. Whether we can escape depends on our luck." Now that the 2 of them were together, the 2 first-level upper-tier holy kings were still some distance away. They could take this opportunity to break out of the encirclement of the 4 first-level lower-tier holy kings and then escape in different directions. "Okay," Wu Pangyun replied, his eyes flashing with a trace of ruthlessness. Boom! Just as Princess Yunyan was about to break out of the encirclement, a palm suddenly struck from behind. This palm struck her heart and broke her meridians. It actually injured her severely. "I can't die, so, Princess Yunyan, I'm sorry." Wu Pangyun's eyes were cold and ruthless. With one palm, He sent Princess Yunyan flying towards the 2 first-level upper-tier Holy Kings. After blocking for a while, Wu Pangyun took the opportunity to break out of the encirclement of the 4 first-level lower-tier Holy Kings and escaped into the horizon. Hee, how vicious and merciless! The short dark man sneered and captured the severely injured Princess Yunyan. He looked at Wu Pangyun, who was escaping into the horizon. The fat pirate sneered, "I'll go and capture him. He's just a seriously injured person." The short dark man laughed evilly. "Well, maybe before you catch him, I'll be done with my business. Little beauty, come with me." The short dark-skinned man grabbed Princess Yunyan, whose face was as pale as a sheet of paper, and leaped off the island into a dark cave. "The 4 of you, watch the surroundings and don't let anyone come near," the short dark man ordered before entering. Swish, the vicinity of the cave was immediately guarded. No one could disturb the short dark man's beauty. Princess Yunyan was scared and resentful. "I was blind to choose to team up with Wu Pangyun." At the critical moment, he was ruthless and sacrificed her to fight for a chance to live. The short dark man's lustful eyes were burning as he looked at Princess Yunyan's graceful figure and beautiful face. His breathing was rapid. Swish, the short dark man quickly took off his clothes and pounced on her naked. He released his beast instincts and roared, "Little beauty, you're too beautiful, I want you. I want you." Princess Yunyan was in despair. Her meridians were broken by Wu Pangyun and her spiritual energy was blocked. She was no different from a mortal woman. Her wrist was easily caught by the short dark man, while his other hand grabbed her chest, wanting to tear her bra apart and ravage her breasts. Tears of fear and regret rolled down her cheeks. However, the big hand that she imagined did not grab her. Instead, with a cracking sound, a chill that caused her delicate body to tremble suddenly attacked her. Opening her eyes, she saw a crystal-clear thread around the short, dark man's neck. Within the thread, there was a terrifying chill. The short, dark man was a first-level upper-tier Holy King. He did not even have time to scream before his entire head was frozen into ice. Swish, the thread retracted and the short, dark man fell to the ground, his head smashed into ice. "Sorry, I'm late." A gentle apologetic voice entered her ears. Princess Yunyan fixed her eyes on the source of the sound. Under the sunlight outside the cave, a tall and straight figure walked over with concern. The faint sunlight shone on the man's face, making him look like a young immortal in an ancient painting. Handsome like an immortal, talented beyond compare. Her beautiful eyes were slightly dazed. The voice told Princess Yunyan that the person who came was Suyu. But for some reason, when she looked over, her heart skipped a beat. In a time of crisis, when life was down and out, the person who came from the sky was not her fiancé, but another man. Taking off the short dark man's token, Suyu kicked his body away and squatted down. "Princess Yunyan, are your injuries serious? Can you walk?" This was not a good place to stay. It was not a big deal that the first-level upper-tier Holy King Fatty had returned. What was more important was that since the Sea Wolves pirates had regrouped, it meant that the first-level peak Holy King, or even the second-level Holy King, was not far away. Princess Yunyan woke up from her daze. She supported herself against the wall and struggled to get up. The slight movement affected her broken meridians, causing her to be in pain. "I am fine." A sharp pain came from her heart, causing her to stumble and fall. Suyu reached out in time and grabbed her slender waist, hesitantly saying, "If Princess Yunyan does not mind, I can carry you out of here and find a safe place to heal." Carry me?" Princess Yunyan's delicate body trembled. Her slender waist, which was held by Suyu, was scalding and numb. No need." Princess Yunyan's face was flushed as she shyly said. However, Princess Yunyan did not even have the strength to get up from Suyu's arms. Sorry for the offense. Time was of the essence. Suyu carried Princess Yunyan on his back, stepped out of the cave, and left. At the entrance of the cave, the ice sculptures of the 4 holy kings were lifelike. "Ah, you put me down." Princess Yunyan was stunned for a moment, then her face turned red as she panicked. Men and women should not be so close. She had never been treated so shamefully by a man in her life. Even if she was his fiancée, it was only in name, and he had never even touched her. However, what made her blush even more difficult was that her swaying made her breasts full and perky, pressing against Su Yu's back even more. A pair of round and slender thighs rubbed against Su Yu's waist even more intensely. At this moment, Princess Yunyan was so shy that she found it difficult to breathe. She was extremely nervous, and her heart was in her throat. Su Yu also felt the soft pressure on his back, and his blood slightly accelerated. He calmed down and said sincerely, "Princess Yunyan, please bear with me for a moment. I am indebted to you, and I have no intention of offending you." Princess Yunyan was an upright and kind person. She had helped Su Yu many times in public and in secret. Now that she was in trouble, Su Yu naturally would not stand by and watch. Hearing his sincere voice, Princess Yunyan did not know why, but her panicked heart gradually calmed down. Her struggle gradually weakened, and Princess Yunyan's face was flushed red. After a long time, she gently nodded. Half a day later, they were completely away from the small island and came to a hidden reef. "Where are your injuries? I will check for you." Putting her down, Su Yu asked with concern. Princess Yunyan's face, which had finally calmed down, turned red again. "No need, it is the rupture of the veins near the heart." If he wanted to check, he would need to remove the front of her shirt. Rupture of the veins? Su Yu was shocked, and his face became serious. "If you do not treat it in time, the rupture of the veins will be too long, and it will be difficult to connect them again. You will not be able to use spiritual energy for the rest of your life." Princess Yunyan's face was bitter. "I was blind to believe in Wu Pengyun. Junior Su Yu, my injuries, you don't have to worry about them. If I remember correctly, if an outsider injects spiritual energy into your body, I can help you connect them, right?" Su Yu had an awkward look on his face. If Princess Yunyan trusts me, maybe I can give it a try." A half-holy king had a weak trace of spiritual energy in his body, but it was enough to heal injuries. "Ah, no need." Princess Yunyan clutched her collar, her face flushed red. To heal injuries with spiritual energy, Su Yu had to use his palm to inject spiritual energy into her injuries through her pores. This process required close contact. However, her injuries were in the heart. Her back was fine, but her chest. How could she allow another man to touch that place? Furthermore, healing injuries was a long process, and it needed to be done several times. "If you have the resolve to give up training, I will not force you." Su Yu sighed, respecting Princess Yunyan's wishes. The current situation was indeed very awkward. Giving up training would mean that she would become a cripple who would never be able to train. Princess Yunyan's heart clenched. The competition in the Zhenlong continent was cruel, and if she did not have the strength, after a long time, the hand that was clutching her collar loosened little by little. Princess Yunyan lowered her head, her face so red that it was as if water was about to drip out of it. Because of nervousness, her voice trembled. Junior Su, I will have to trouble you." Swish! Princess Yunyan's hands trembled as she gently unfastened a green belt around her waist. Following that, her jade-like hands started to unbutton his collar bit by bit. Chapter 111. The delicate beauty's luxurious dress gradually unraveled. Her clothes were hidden, but not completely removed, only revealing the left side of her chest where her heart was. However, a pair of soul-stirring, snow-white breasts came into view through the half-hidden veil. Perky and round, a pink cherry that had yet to be plucked stood proudly. With shyness and helplessness, Princess Yunyan slowly closed her beautiful eyes. Her long, curved eyelashes gently trembled, showing the fear, shyness, and helplessness in her heart. Her jade-like face was crimson, like the morning sun reflecting the snow. Her breathing was rapid, her breasts rising and falling with her nervousness, dazzling the eyes. "Junior Suyu, please, please." Suyu's blood rushed, his breathing slightly hurried. Such a beautiful and elegant woman was closing her eyes in front of him, revealing her mysterious breasts, as if waiting for him to pluck them. It would be a lie to say that he was not tempted. But thinking of Siener, Suyu took a deep breath, his eyes gradually becoming clear. "Princess, please forgive me." He extended his hand and placed it on her breast. With a moan, Princess Yunyan's body trembled, her face flushed, her voice trembling. "Please, please hurry up." The moment he touched her, the soft, warm, and smooth sensation passed through his palm and into his heart. His heart rippled. He suppressed the primitive desires in his heart and focused on transferring weak spirit energy to help her reconnect her broken veins. Suyu was focused, not daring to be distracted. An hour passed, and the veins were finally mostly reconnected. Suyu's face was slightly pale. The excessive use of spirit energy was a huge burden on his body. At this moment, Princess Yunyan's eyelashes fluttered slightly. Her pair of beautiful eyes that were filled with shyness opened slightly. A pair of clear, focused, and serious eyes, without any distracting thoughts, entered his eyes. The image of Suyu blushing and lusting after her breasts did not appear. Her restless heart was inexplicably calm. "All right, after 2 more times, Princess Yunyan can circulate her spirit energy to nourish herself." Suyu retracted his palm, turning his head away. Princess Yunyan gathered her clothes, once again hiding her snow-white breasts within her clothes. Thank you." Princess Yunyan lowered her head, her elegant and calm demeanor disappearing. In front of Suyu, she was too shy to lift her head. Suyu waved his hand and calmly said, "I am indebted to the princess, so it's nothing much for me. Just call me Yunyan." Princess Yunyan bit her lips and said softly. Suyu smiled calmly, "Then Yunyan can just call me by my name, Suyu." "Suyu." Princess Yunyan repeated his name in her heart. She was embarrassed. She would never forget what had happened today. After all, he was the first man to touch her pure body. After a while, the two of them rested on the spot. Suyu caught several fish, but he didn't roast them to eat. Instead, after he heated up the ground, he immediately extinguished the flames and used the residual heat to roast the fish. "Suyu, what are you doing? It's very cold at night. If there's no fire, I'm afraid we won't be able to survive." Princess Yunyan was puzzled and worried. If he still had his spiritual energy, he could use it to protect his body from the cold. But at this moment, she was no different from a mortal girl. It would be difficult for her to survive the cold of the sea at night. Suyu looked around vigilantly, then said in a grave voice, "If I were to escape with you, who are heavily injured, I would surely need to find a place to treat your injuries. Only dry places like islands and reefs are suitable. If I can think of this, then the enemy can too. Hence, the enemy will search the islands and reefs closely. If we light a fire at night and scan from the sky, we can see sparks from 100 miles away. This will attract the enemy," Suyu explained. Princess Yunyan was shocked. Luckily, Suyu had reminded her. She had almost forgotten such common sense. But after eating the fish and filling her stomach, the cold wind of the night came. Yunyan's face gradually turned green. She squatted on the ground and hugged her arms, her delicate body gradually trembling. "Yunyan, come down." Looking over, it was Suyu who had dug a small pit on the reef. It was big enough for the two of them to sit cross-legged and avoid the wind of the sea. Yunyan's face lit up and she jumped down. It was indeed a safe harbor. In addition, Suyu had used a coral reef as a cover to block the entrance of the pit, preventing the sea wind from entering. They sat cross-legged peacefully, their knees touching. They could hear each other's breathing. Yunyan's face was red, but she could only endure. But on the night of the sea, the cold wind could be blocked, but it could not block the invasion of the boundless chill. Yunyan's body temperature gradually dropped. She hugged her body tightly, shivering. Suyu cultivated a cold-based cultivation technique and was not affected. Seeing Yunyan in such a state, he was worried. She was already seriously injured and weak. If the cold attacked her at any moment, she might not survive the night. Yunyan, come into my embrace. I will use my vital energy to help you get through the night. This is an expedient measure. Princess, please bear with it. Ah? Yunyan was shocked. Spend the night in Suyu's embrace, hug him until dawn? It was difficult for her to compromise on such an embarrassing matter. No need, cough. She coughed before she could finish her sentence. She could faintly feel the aftermath of the invasion of the cold wind. Whoosh, a big hand pulled her into his embrace and made her sit on Suyu's thighs without any explanation. Vital energy surged from Suyu's body, driving away the surrounding chill. Ah, you? Let go of me! Yunyan panicked, trembling as she screamed. Suyu sighed. I'm sorry, I cannot watch you freeze to death in the night. Yunyan continued to struggle. Her breasts had already been touched, and now they were hugging each other to sleep. If her fiancé found out, how could he still accept her? Just pretend that I, Suyu, am a shameless person who forced myself on you. Hate me, blame me, it's up to you. He pulled her into his embrace, tightly hugging her. Yunyan's heart trembled when she heard this. Suyu was implying that Princess Yunyan should pretend she was being forced. His motive was for Yunyan to comfort herself and feel better. Gradually, Yunyan stopped struggling, her eyes filled with gratitude. This was the first time a man had caused her heart to tremble, even though it was only a slight movement. She looked up at Suyu's closed eyes. His face was sincere, calm, and without any distracting thoughts. Yunyan's heart calmed. I was the one who gauged the heart of a gentleman with my own mean measure. Suyu had the heart of a gentleman. If he wanted to lust for me, he would have taken my body long ago. At this moment, she was just a mortal. If Suyu wanted to possess her, she could only lie down and let him do whatever he wanted. Yunyan's body gradually became obedient, falling into Suyu's embrace, greedily enjoying the warmth brought by the vital energy. The chill in her body disappeared, and the warm embrace felt like she had returned to her family. Her body was heavily injured and she was exhausted. Not long after, her eyes gradually closed, and unknowingly, she fell asleep in Suyu's embrace. Soon, she breathed deeply, like a kitten, nestled in Suyu's embrace, a peaceful smile on her face. The next morning, when she opened her eyes, full of energy, she shyly discovered that her arms were wrapped around Suyu's neck. His head rested on her shoulder, his soft body deeply in her embrace. Her perky breasts pressed against Suyu's chest. Yunyan blushed, frantically getting off Suyu. But just as she was about to leave, she felt a chill and subconsciously leaned into Suyu's embrace again. Looking up, she saw Suyu's serious expression, closely observing the surroundings through the gap in the roof. What happened? Yunyan asked in a low voice. Oh, a large hand covered her red lips. Suyu solemnly gestured for her to keep quiet, quietly pointing above their heads. Yunyan's heart was thumping. When she pricked up her ears, she heard a few whistling sounds. Someone was flying above their heads. We have searched all 18 islands nearby, but found nothing. A half-holy king stood on the island they were on, reporting to a black-robed, one-eyed man. The one-eyed man's cultivation level was terrifying, reaching first-level peak Holy King. He was the only first-level peak Holy King among the Sea Wolves pirates. With his strength, even if Wu Pangyun, Yunyan, and Lu Guang joined forces, it would still be difficult to withstand a single blow from him, much less Suyu alone. Split up and search again. That woman is injured and must be recuperating in a dry place. It's very likely that she's hiding. Even if you have to dig 3 feet underground, you must find that man and woman. They killed 4 first-level lower-tier Holy Kings and 1 first-level upper-tier Holy King. If we don't skin them alive, we won't be able to vent our anger. Yes, Lord Bloody Hands. The half-holy king respectfully said, then suddenly said, "Then, what about the first-level upper-tier holy king that escaped? Of course, search together. We must find him within a 1,000-mile radius." The one-eyed man's name was Bloody Hands. Swoosh! A large group of people suddenly flew in all directions. At this moment, within a 1,000-mile radius, the half-holy kings were everywhere. Once a figure appeared, they would immediately be alerted. Suyu had stolen the treasures of the divine ice ancient kingdom and killed several holy kings, causing the sea wolves pirates to go crazy and search for him. After a long time, Yun Yan's heart was still thumping. Looks like before your injuries heal, we can only hide here and try not to go out. Suyu sighed, his gaze serious. Yun Yan came back to her senses, her face blushing. Didn't that mean she had to stay in Suyu's embrace like this? Yun Yan responded softly, comforting herself in her mind. Even though this would be detrimental to her reputation, it was better than falling into the hands of the pirates and being humiliated by a group of men. But the atmosphere was still awkward. In order to ease the tension, Yun Yan tried to find a topic to talk about. She suddenly thought of something and slowly said, "Suyu, did you feel that the Lucian faction's recruitment test this time around was unusual?" Suyu nodded, his heart filled with doubt. "I felt that something was wrong with the suicide mission." "The problem is not just the suicide mission." Yun Yan obviously knew more. She stared at him and said, "According to what I know, the first and second-ranked geniuses of the 100 vassal clans were accepted by the Lucian faction in advance. Apart from that, there were also some exceptionally talented people who entered the Lucian faction through other channels. They are the true geniuses. In comparison, we are more mediocre." Suyu frowned. "You mean to say that the true geniuses have long been taken in by the Lucian faction and we were sent to carry out the suicide mission?" Yun Yan nodded. "That's right. So I suspect that we are just bait sent by the faction. The faction might want to use us mediocre disciples to lure a certain person or force out. The hunt for the pirates this time around was strange and unusual." After muttering to himself for a long time, Suyu gradually nodded. But the more it was so, the more Suyu wanted to return alive. He had to kill Shirulan and Hanji. Then, let's start healing. Yun Yan's body trembled. She bit her lip, her hands trembling. She unbuttoned her shirt, once again revealing her round, snow-white breasts to Suyu. 5 days later, the final healing session was over. Yun Yan's face was slightly flushed. She gently tied up her shirt, her breasts still warm and numb. In these 5 days, she had been touched by Suyu many times, to the point of numbness. She had also laid in his embrace for 5 days, gradually getting used to Suyu's embrace. "All right, let's prepare to leave this place," Suyu said softly. "Leave?" Yun Yan was slightly happy, but for some reason, she felt a little disappointed. "All right." Yun Yan smiled, concealing the strange feeling in her heart. But at that moment, "Haha, little bastard, you're quite capable to be able to hide from me for 5 days." An angry shout came from above their heads. Yun Yan was shocked. "We've been discovered?" "No. Shu," Suyu said. In the outside world, Wu Pangyun was escaping from the sky, his face filled with panic and despair. That day, he had narrowly escaped from the hands of the fat pirate and found a secret place to recover from his injuries. But who would have thought that the Sea Wolves pirates would go crazy and mobilize their entire army? The underground cave he was hiding in had been dug 3 feet deep into the ground and found. "This time, there's no one to block for you. Prepare to die." The fat first-level upper-tier Holy King roared. Wu Pangyun was unwilling. How could he die here? With a roar, Wu Pangyun's hostility was ignited. He did not run away but fought back. The location of the battle was above Suyu and the others. Boom! A trace of aftershock hit the island reef. The island, which wasn't that big in the first place, suddenly shook. The coral reef above Suyu's head suddenly exploded. As the two were fighting, they suddenly caught a glimpse of a small hidden pit under their feet. Inside, a man and a woman were tightly hugging each other. The woman was beautiful, her face flushed and her clothes disheveled. She was deeply in the man's arms. It was not difficult to imagine what the man and woman were doing just now. Su Yu. Princess Yun Yan. Wu Pangyun was shocked, then he was pleasantly surprised. Quick! Let's join forces and kill him. Swoosh, swoosh. Two figures flew out from the island reef, but did not pay any attention to Wu Pangyun. They took advantage of the moment when the fat upper-tier Holy King was besieged to escape. Wu Pangyun was furious. Su Yu. The fat upper-tier Holy King snorted. Little bastard, surrender immediately, I still want to catch them. Get lost. Moon-breaking palm. Wu Pangyun attacked ruthlessly as if he did not care for his life. The fat Holy King's fierce attack was actually suppressed. For a moment, he could not do anything to Wu Pangyun. Get lost. Otherwise, you and I will perish together. Wu Pangyun roared again and again, seeking survival in a desperate situation. However, at this moment, an indifferent voice came from above his head. Perish together? You? Wu Pangyun's pupils shrank, his heart thumping wildly. Someone was above his head and he did not even notice it. Looking up, a black-robed man with one eye stood with his arms crossed, looking down at him as if he was looking at a pitiful ant. Kneel. The one-eyed man tapped lightly on the top of his head. Poof! Wu Pangyun's face turned red and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. A heavy blow like a mountain pushed him from the sky to the island reef. Both his knees knelt on the ground with a thud, his body trembling violently. He could not move a single inch from the other party's foot. Useless. A little kid can't do anything. The one-eyed man coldly glanced at the fat Holy King. As a first-level upper-tier Holy King, he broke out in a cold sweat. Lord Bloodhands, please forgive me. Take him away, I'll go after the other two brats. Bloodhand's eyes were cold as he looked at the black figure in the sky, the corners of his mouth cracked into a cold smile. I've finally found you. Swish, Bloodhands left in a flash. Su Yu looked back, his expression extremely grave as he gasped, First-level peak Holy King. Yun Yan's heart trembled, her face ashen. Su Yu, I'll join forces with you. Even if I die, I want to die with honor. Unexpectedly, Su Yu shook his head and sighed. Yun Yan, he's chasing me. Immediately flee in another direction. If you're lucky enough to escape to the Lucian faction, find Qin Xiener and Xia Jingyu who just entered the faction. Tell them that I, Su Yu, have left footprints on the Zhenlong continent. With that, Su Yu fled in another direction. Before leaving, he gave Yun Yan a parting smile. Yun Yan's eyes were filled with tears. Su Yu, looking at Su Yu's figure, her mind reverberated with that parting smile. Yun Yan's heart trembled. In order not to implicate her, he would rather fight a first-level peak Holy King alone? There had never been a man who could shock her so much, never. Su Yu, you have to come back alive. The past 5 days flashed before her eyes. Thinking of Su Yu's death, Yun Yan felt like she had lost something, her heart aching. Wiping away her tears, Yun Yan quickly fled in the direction of the Lucian faction. As expected, Bloodhands chose Su Yu without hesitation. 2 hours later, one chasing and one fleeing, Su Yu was finally caught. Brat, you should be proud that I'm personally chasing you. Bloodhand's eyes flashed with a shocking killing intent. Su Yu's expression was calm, revealing a hint of confidence. The one who dies might not be me. Whoosh, Su Yu dove headfirst into the sea. Chapter 112. Bloodhand sneered. In terms of swimming ability, we pirates have been cultivating water attribute cultivation techniques all year round and are proficient in water battles. You're simply courting death by choosing to enter the water. Four Seas Dragon. Bloodhand shouted coldly. After jumping into the water, he crossed his legs and swung them like a dragon's tail, overturning rivers and seas. Crash! Rolling waves surrounded Bloodhand. The torrent was swift and violent. His speed skyrocketed, and he was even 3 times faster than he was in the air. Choosing to fight in the water was the stupidest decision you've ever made. The speed of the blood water was shockingly fast, and it caught up with Suyu in an instant. Chila, a palm attacked, carrying with it a powerful stream of water. It penetrated everything and bombarded Suyu. Crack, however, a scene that caused Bloodwater's expression to change slightly appeared. The seawater behind Suyu froze into an ice mountain in an instant. Bloodwater was caught off guard. His palm bombarded the iceberg, but it was as if he had hit an iron wall. His palm was in intense pain as the bones in his fingers were shattered. At the same time, the recoil caused his blood and internal organs to tremble violently. He vomited a mouthful of blood and was sent flying several meters away. This is the divine weapon of the divine ice ancient kingdom. You can actually use it. The blood water was horrified. It immediately thought of such a strange scene. It was extremely likely that it was the legendary divine weapon of the divine ice ancient kingdom. It was unknown when Suyu, who was escaping, had turned around. The divine ice ring on his hand was emitting a cold glow. It made Suyu's face look exceptionally cold. The corner of his mouth curled up into a faint smile. At this moment, in the ice-cold seawater, he seemed cold and merciless. Water is my Suyu's world. The moment you chose to enter the sea, your fate was already decided. Suyu smiled indifferently, his expression calm and confident. His flowing silver hair reflected a faint silver light in the clear seawater. Like a celestial's purple robe, it gently floated along with the current. His expression was peerless and heroic. In an instant, Bloodhand seemed to see an ice god monarch looking down at him indifferently. Run. Possessing the divine ice threads was equivalent to possessing the might of the divine ice ancient kingdom's monarch back then. In the water was the ice god world. Suyu was the divine ice king. Crack, crack. The blood rapidly retreated and was about to rush out of the water. But when he glanced out of the corner of his eye, his pupils suddenly constricted. He didn't know when, but a translucent thread was floating in the seawater, and it brushed past him. No, not just one. There were 10 strands, 100 strands, 1,000 strands. The densely packed threads surrounded him like a giant net. The thread blended with the seawater and was transparent, making it extremely difficult to detect. He had chased after Suyu all the way and had not been on guard against the traps that Suyu had set up. At this moment, he had unknowingly fallen into the enemy's net. Frozen world! Suyu's silver hair fluttered in the wind, and his purple robe danced in the wind. He was like an ancient divine king, calmly announcing the end of the world. Kacha kacha! The seawater was cold, and the world was frozen. Bloodhand roared again and again as the threads around him shot out cold air, sealing the seawater along with him into the world of ice. His face maintained a terrified expression as he was sealed within the ice mountain. Looking into the distance, an ice mountain rose from the bottom of the sea. A person was sealed within it. However, a layer of faint spiritual energy circulated around the body of the person sealed in ice. He wasn't completely dead. Whoosh! Suyu flew out of the sea and crossed the void. With a flash in his eyes, Suyu gave a low grunt and clenched his fists. Shatter! Chila, countless divine ice threads lifted the giant ice mountain out of the water with a loud bang. The divine ice threads, which could cut through iron as if it were mud, dug into the ice mountain. With the force of Suyu's palm, the threads tightened like a net. Kacha! The divine ice threads cut through the ice mountain from the inside out. Bloodhand's frozen gaze was filled with deep fear. This was also the last expression he had in his life. Puff! The ice mountain shattered into countless small pieces. Together with the person sealed in ice, they were sliced into dust. Whoosh! Suyu's eyes were sharp. His divine ice threads swept the jade pendant back into his body. A first-level peak Holy King had been frozen and perished. Su Yu's own strength was at most equivalent to a first-level upper-tier Holy King. However, with the help of the divine artifact of the divine ice ancient kingdom, he was like a fish in water in the sea. He counted the jade pendant. 10 half-Holy Kings, a total of 10 points. 5 first-level lower-tier Holy Kings, a total of 50 points. 1 first-level upper-tier Holy King, a total of 20 points. 1 first-level peak Holy King, a total of 30 points. The cumulative score was 110 points. He had already surpassed the limit of 100 points. In this way, not only could Su Yu enter the inner sanctum, he could also obtain a rare and precious medium-grade marrow cleansing elixir. Furthermore, he could obtain the guidance of a valuable elder. Master Li had once said that 100 years ago, Li Guang had luckily escaped death because the second elder had interceded. This time, he could use this opportunity to meet the second elder. If he told the truth, he should be able to obtain the second elder's protection. In this way, he could barely gain a foothold in the Lucian faction. His heart filled with joy, Su Yu carefully kept the jade pendant. Hee, not bad. A faint laughter rang out beside his ear. Boom! Su Yu froze on the spot as if he had been struck by lightning. His palms trembled violently and he almost dropped the jade pendant. Someone had actually come up behind him without him noticing. Looking back, he saw a young man of only 20 years old standing with his hands clasped behind his back with a mocking expression. His aura was completely restrained. At a glance, he looked just like an ordinary person. But a terrifying feeling that made Su Yu tremble was like a huge shadow enveloping Su Yu. Su Yu even had the illusion that the other party could crush him with a single finger. Who was this person? Without a doubt, he was the leader of the Sea Wolves pirates. He was a rumored second-level Saint King. Every time a Holy King advanced a level, his strength would skyrocket by a level. The strength of a second-level Holy King was far superior to that of a first-level Holy King. "Why didn't you kill me?" Su Yu asked in a low voice. Although he was the leader of the pirates, his face did not have the unique savagery of pirates. Instead, he said calmly, "I am not comparable to this group of filthy pirates." Since he was the Pirate King, why would he belittle his subordinates? Pursing his lips into a smile, the leader of the pirates said, "Your Lucian faction released several geniuses into this area of the sea to lure me out, right? Unfortunately, you lost your portable positioning pendant, so it would be difficult for the people of the Lucian faction to locate you. The funniest thing is that they treated Wu Pangyun as the most outstanding disciple and secretly monitored his situation. Little did they know that the real genius was not him, but you." The leader of the pirates showed deep admiration. Looking at Su Yu's gaze, the leader of the pirates smiled. "You comprehended a legacy-level technique at the age of 14, and are resourceful and fearless in the face of danger. As a half-Holy King, you beheaded a first-level peak Holy King. It is a pity that such a talent is relegated to the Lucian faction." Su Yu was stunned. "What do you mean?" The leader of the pirates smiled. "The Sea Wolves pirates are just a small group of pirates that I captured. The leader of the pirates is just a cover. My true identity is a silver-robed guard of the Empire of Darkness. I am stationed in the sea near the Lucian faction. My mission is to find outstanding disciples for the Empire of Darkness. Of course, the new disciples of the Lucian faction are also within the scope of my search. I will bring them to the Empire of Darkness. Your Lucian faction has sensed my presence, but unfortunately, you are unable to determine my location. Thus, you used a group of disciples with negligible aptitudes and banished them to my territory. Then, you sent experts to secretly follow the key target, Wu Pangyun. Once I appear and take Wu Pangyun away, the hidden experts will appear and subdue me." Su Yu understood. So that was how it was. Just as Yun Yen had said, the recruitment assessment had a hidden motive for the faction. The true geniuses had long been protected by the Lucian faction. Disciples of little value like Wu Pangyun and Su Yu were used as bait to lure out the leader of the pirates who had snatched the disciples of the Lucian faction. Fortunately, I did not take a fancy to Wu Pangyun. Instead, I have observed you for a long time. You are a true genius. Your level of understanding, intelligence, and temperament are all above average. The leader of the pirates thought highly of Su Yu, pursing his lips and smiling. Come with me, the Empire of Darkness is your world. Su Yu's eyes were serious. What if I say no? Xian'er and Jingyu were both in the Lucian faction. How could he leave now that they were about to reunite? The leader of the pirates continued to smile. Seeing that you might become my junior, I will give you two choices. First, die immediately. If my Empire of Darkness cannot obtain a talent, other forces can forget about it. Second, I will give you a chance to escape. If you can escape from my hands in half a day, then consider me useless. Whoosh, Su Yu was unusually decisive. Without another word, he broke through the air and escaped. The leader of the pirates was slightly stunned, then immediately revealed a smile. His smile deepening. You are decisive, very good. After a cup of tea's time, Su Yu's vital energy had been greatly depleted. In his escape, he had already flown 100 miles away. 2 hours was enough to cover a radius of 500 miles. You are a little slow, hee. An indifferent chuckle came from in front of Su Yu. Looking over, the leader of the pirates was standing with his hands clasped behind his back, within a mass of clouds. He had a leisurely expression and a smile on his lips, as if he had been waiting for Su Yu for a long time. So fast. Su Yu's heart was thumping wildly. Whoosh! Su Yu immediately changed direction and flew away. However, after a cup of tea's time, on the peak of the island in front of him, the leader of the pirates was sitting cross-legged, holding a pot of wine in his hand. He slowly sipped the tea and commented, "You need to cultivate your movement techniques." Su Yu's movement techniques, floating light shadow, were no longer useful. His heart was filled with anxiety. If he still could not escape after an hour, he would either die or follow them into the inexplicable Empire of Darkness. But it was not easy for him to reunite with Xian'er and Jingyu. How could he part again? Clenching his teeth, Su Yu quickly fled. Finally, after an hour, Su Yu had used up all of his time. In the clouds above his head, the leader of the pirates had a regretful and mocking expression. Looks like you have to make a choice. Die or follow me. Su Yu's gaze was conflicted. Fight. Splash, Su Yu leapt into the sea. Resistance? Unfortunately, you have chosen death. The smile on the leader of the pirates' face gradually froze. He looked down at the waves on the surface of the sea, a cold, playful smile on his face. Do you want to fight on the sea with me? Unfortunately, you only have a small grasp of the divine artifact of the divine ice ancient kingdom. By the way, I've already lent it to you for half a month. I'm sure you've had enough. It's time to take it back. I'll take it back along with your life. Rumble, the leader of the pirates, entered the sea with a cold expression. Under the water, Su Yu's figure could be vaguely seen. With a slight smile, the leader of the pirates flicked his finger. A terrifying wisp of spirit energy condensed into a stream of air, piercing through the sea like a sharp arrow. A life and death crisis suddenly descended upon him. With that one finger, Su Yu had the illusion that he was about to turn into dust. Ice Seal World. Su Yu growled. The divine ice threads buried along the way emitted a terrifying chill. Crack. The sea, including the leader of the pirates, froze into a giant iceberg in an instant. Even if he used the same trick, if he did not detect the location of the divine ice threads, it would be difficult to avoid death. However, what made Su Yu's pupils shrink was that within the iceberg, a raging flame was burning. It was like a fiery red flower gently blooming in the cold ice. A flaming man with a disdainful smile stood with his hands clasped behind his back. The flames could actually burn in such a cold environment. Legacy-level cultivation technique. Suyu gasped. The leader of the pirates laughed in disdain. I've already warned you not to compare me to those dirty pirates. You're not the only one who knows legacy-level cultivation techniques. Destroy. The leader of the pirates let out a low grunt, the flames around him bursting forth in all directions. Crack, boom. The iceberg shattered with a loud bang. Countless shards of ice flew in all directions. Puff, Suyu was careless and was struck in the chest by a shard of ice. In an instant, it was as if someone had taken a hammer and ruthlessly hammered his chest, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, the leader of the pirates, surrounded by flames that even the seawater could not extinguish, leisurely stepped forward. Suyu's eyes flickered with an unyielding flame. That unyielding gaze caused the leader of the pirates to be slightly startled. Before you die, can you tell me why you are so stubborn? Since you are a new disciple, you have no sense of belonging to the Lucien faction. What difference does it make if you follow me to the Empire of Darkness? The leader of the pirates calmly said. Under Suyu's fluttering silver hair was a pair of eyes as deep as the starry sky, filled with a faint warmth. Because the Lucien faction has the two most important people in my life. One is my fiancée, whom I have been separated from until now. I owe her a lifetime of protection. The other is a woman whom I respect like a mountain. I owe her a lifetime of kindness. I have to see them. Even if we are separated by thousands of miles of ocean, even if we are separated by thousands of mountains and rivers, even if we are separated forever, I will still walk in front of them. Suyu's eyes were filled with determination. The leader of the pirates was slightly dazed. Hearing Suyu's resolute words, he felt that although Suyu's abilities were weak, he was still dazzling. After a moment, he coldly said, "Even if you die?" Suyu nodded. In the deep sea, his eyes were bright and eye-catching like deep-sea pearls. "Yes. Even if I die, I will not regret it." If he could not accompany Xiener in this life, if he could not repay Xia Jingyu's kindness, he would forever be lacking in this life. They were the most important women in Suyu's life. So, I, Suyu, cannot go with you, nor can I die here. A strand of silver hair floated in front of Suyu's forehead, blocking his resolute expression. However, it could not block his eyes, which were permeated with purple light. Extending two fingers, Suyu slowly pointed at his pupils and removed the two thin films. A pair of tightly shut eyes slowly opened. A noble and mysterious purple light filled the sky and earth, illuminating the deep sea. At this moment, time and space seemed to have frozen, and the world seemed to have stopped. Only the fluttering purple robe, the fluttering silver hair, and the noble and mysterious eyes transcended time and space. Chapter 113. Seal of Time. Suyu's eyes glowed purple. Time, space, and the earth froze. An invisible purple dragon wrapped around the body of the pirate leader, freezing him in time and space. His mind was still spinning, but his body was frozen in time and space. Ice Seal World. The divine ice threads danced in the air, sealing the pirate leader within the ice mountain once again. Unable to move, he could not use his legacy-level cultivation technique. Creak, countless divine ice threads tightened in an instant, forming a huge net that cut through everything within the ice. Clang, however, when it cut through the pirate leader, it was slightly obstructed. The seemingly ordinary clothes on his body were actually treasured clothes, incomparably tough. Swish, at that moment, the seal of time ended, freeing the pirate leader's body. The scene just now had been witnessed by him. His playful smile vanished, replaced by a deep gloominess. "Kid, you've angered me. Trying to kill me with such a small trick?" The pirate leader shouted coldly. Boom! The pirate leader's terrifying spiritual energy turned into a sky full of flames, expelling the ice. His body shook, bouncing off the countless divine ice threads. Puff! The recoil spread through the divine ice threads, passing through Su Yu's body, causing him to spit out blood. In the face of absolute power, you can't do anything to me. In the name of the Empire of Darkness, I grant you the destruction of darkness. The pirate leader extended a finger, piercing through Su Yu with a piercing flame. However, Su Yu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his expression unfathomable. You're finally here. I've waited for you for so long. Who are you waiting for? The pirate leader looked puzzled. Did you not notice where this sea area is when you chased me? Su Yu asked. The pirate leader looked around. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of an ice palace in the seawater behind him. Within a 10-mile radius, the outline of a city was faintly visible, reflecting the faint light of ice crystals. It was like a pearl dotting the dark seabed, enchanting and dreamy. God, ancient kingdom. The pirate leader uttered these 4 words. Shivering, the pirate chief was both shocked and furious. You purposely fought here and released the divine ice ring to attract the sea beasts guarding this place? That's right, and it's already here. Su Yu smiled. Swish! Several rays of black light merged into the dark seabed and shot over without a sound. Su Yu's eyes observed the surrounding 20 miles. He was already prepared for this. Whoosh! At the critical moment, he hurriedly dodged. The pirate chief was not as lucky as Su Yu. He was in a state of shock and anger and did not have his guard up. Boom! The pirate leader let out a miserable shriek. The pirate leader's treasured clothes were like paper, easily torn apart. There was a bloody hole through his abdomen, and his internal organs could be seen wriggling. The pirate chief roared furiously, "Evil creature!" Swish, swish, swish. Countless rays of black light shot out from the sea beasts hidden in the darkness. Most of the black light was concentrated on the pirate leader. The sea beasts were keenly aware that the pirate leader was the greatest threat to their lives. As the pirate leader hurriedly dodged, his shoulder armor was pierced again. You're courting death, you evil creature! The pirate chief glared fiercely at Su Yu, who had taken the opportunity to escape. Unwilling to give up, he had no choice but to deal with the sea beasts first. Whoosh! Su Yu was like a fish in the sea. While the 2 strong men were fighting, he immediately hid in the ruins of the divine ice ancient kingdom. As far as the eye could see, everything within 10 miles was in ruins. It was mottled with the vicissitudes of time, as if recounting the tragic disaster that had occurred countless years ago. Who was the owner of the palm? Why had so many civilizations been destroyed by his palm? Su Yu was puzzled. Suddenly, the remains of a palace came into view. Because of the geography, the buildings on both sides had borne the power of the giant palm. Sandwiched in the middle, it had only borne a small part of the power. Most of it had collapsed, but a small part still remained. Divine Ice Temple. Su Yu's pupils shrank. According to the pirates, the Divine Ice Ancient Kingdom had a well-preserved Divine Ice Temple. It was the training ground of the strong men of the Divine Ice Ancient Kingdom. It was most likely this place. It had been guarded by sea beasts all year round, and no one could enter. Now that the sea beasts were being held back by the pirate chief, it was an opportunity. Whoosh! Without hesitation, Su Yu flashed into the Divine Ice Temple. Hiss! The moment he entered, Su Yu lightly gasped. So cold! The divine ice threads had not yet made him cold, but this place was filled with cold air, but it chilled his heart. The icy heart core and the divine ice ring absorbed the cold air together, allowing Su Yu to barely exist in the main hall. Even the pirate chief, a second-level holy king, would be reduced to an ice sculpture if he were to enter. The danger within was terrifying. Su Yu carefully moved forward, ensuring that the icy heart core and the divine ice ring could withstand the cold air. Once he reached a place where the cold air was too strong, he would immediately retreat. This is not a place to stay for long. Su Yu gazed around. Even if he had an ice-cold body, he could not stay for long. The inside of the temple was in ruins. Everything had turned to dust over time. Suddenly, Suyu caught a glimpse of 3 skeletons that had been preserved perfectly under a dilapidated wall. They sat cross-legged in a circle. It was as if they were having a heart-to-heart talk before they died, until the power of the divine palm of destruction extinguished their lives. The erosion of time had left the 3 of them with only white bones. Their clothes had long since festered. There was nothing on their bodies. Even if they once had treasures, they must have been worn away in time. Suyu could not help but be secretly disappointed. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of several items in the middle of the 3 people sitting in a circle, sealed by a thin layer of ice. That ice exuded an unprecedented chill. Suyu only took one look at it, and he felt a sharp pain in his eyes. Hiss, what a terrifying ice! It was most likely that the 3 elders had condensed the ice in the nick of time before they died, protecting the items in the middle. Only then could they have survived the erosion of time and be preserved. Suyu looked through the layer of ice, faintly seeing 2 cultivation techniques. Thump, thump. Suyu's heart could not help but beat violently. Legacy-level cultivation techniques. Complete volumes. 2 volumes. In the Lucian faction, even a remnant volume of a legacy-level cultivation technique was extremely rare. Many holy kings had no luck with it. Even the powerful 100 vassal clans did not have a single remnant volume of a legacy-level cultivation technique. Yet here, there were 2 complete volumes of legacy-level cultivation techniques. According to Suyu's knowledge, only those in the Dragon Realm, especially the powerful Dragon Realm, could cultivate a complete legacy-level cultivation technique. Furthermore, only those at the level of an elder had the right to read a complete legacy-level cultivation technique. Low-level Dragon Realm fighters like the clan masters and core disciples still cultivated the remnant volumes. But here, there were 2 complete volumes of legacy-level cultivation techniques. How could Suyu not be tempted? Looking over, the 2 volumes of legacy-level cultivation techniques were fully unfolded. Looking at the situation, the 3 of them should have been cultivating together, exchanging insights. Before they died, they sealed the cultivation technique in ice to protect it. Thump, thump. Even with Suyu's calmness, he could not help but feel excited. Taking a deep breath, Suyu suppressed the urge to break the ice and take the cultivation techniques away. The reason the cultivation techniques could be preserved until now was because of the ice seal. If he were to break the ice, they would instantly turn to dust. Thus, Suyu could only memorize them on the spot. Time control. With the time acceleration of 200 times, Suyu passed through the ice seal and memorized them. In the short time that had passed in the outside world, Suyu had already spent 20 hours memorizing the 2 legacy-level cultivation techniques. His eyes, having stared at the ice seal for such a long time, had actually been frozen solid. The icy heart core and divine ice ring worked hard to absorb the ice, gradually alleviating the effects. But there was still a faint piercing pain, making it difficult for Suyu to open his eyes. Even so, Suyu's face was brimming with indescribable joy. One of the cultivation techniques was a movement technique called Icy Divine Wings. It was divided into 3 levels, each level divided into lower class, upper class, and top class. With each level of top class, one could condense a pair of icy divine wings with the power of ice in their bodies. Their speed would be as fast as light, far surpassing those of the same level. At each level, the icy divine wings had a different form. The higher the level, the more extraordinary the divine wings form. Legend had it that at level 3 top class, one could transform into a non-human form of the ultimate divine wings. One could travel 10,000 miles in a day, surpassing the dragon realm and comparable to a deity. Suyu was excited. The floating light passing shadow could not keep up with his pace, or else he would not have been chased by the pirate leader. Icy divine wings had come at the right time. The second cultivation technique was Sigh of Ice. It was an extremely rare, top-grade legacy-level cultivation technique that could increase one's spiritual energy. In the entire Lucian faction, there was only one remnant volume of Thousand Threads mantra. Now there was a complete Sigh of Ice. It was also divided into 3 levels. Each level could double the spiritual energy in one's body. After all 3 levels of top class, one's spiritual energy was 3 times that of the same level. As for the Thousand Threads mantra, even after cultivating the remnant volume, one could only double the spiritual energy. The effect of Sigh of Ice was 3 times that of Thousand Threads mantra. Moreover, Su Yu was pleasantly surprised to discover the cultivation requirements of Sigh of Ice. It is only suitable for cold attribute martial artists to cultivate. With the help of cold energy, the cultivation speed will be faster. With the help of cold energy? Su Yu's closed eyes suddenly shot toward the extremely cold and frightening ice seal. The cold energy that the 3 elders had transformed into before their deaths surpassed anything Su Yu had seen in his life. If he could use it to cultivate, rumble, hee. Little bastard. So you were here. A sinister laugh suddenly came from behind him. Su Yu's body suddenly froze. Looking back, his heart sank to the bottom. The pirate leader was badly mutilated. All that was left of his right arm was a bloody bone. His skin and flesh had been destroyed by the black light. His abdomen, shoulder blade, and chin had lost their flesh. His right eye had been destroyed by the black light, leaving only a bloody black hole. His remaining left eye was overflowing with murderous intent. I want you to die. The pirate leader was extremely resentful. His hatred was as deep as the sea. His lips, which had lost its chin, spurted blood as he let out a fierce roar. Whoosh, crack, however, the moment he stepped in, the ferocious cold energy froze both his feet. With the dual absorption of the icy heart core and the divine ice ring, Su Yu could barely survive. How could the pirate leader enter with just his body? However, scram! With a low roar, his body burned with raging flames to expel the cold energy. He actually disregarded his own life and forcefully consumed his spiritual energy to walk into the hall. Although every step he took was extremely difficult, his murderous intent to tear Su Yu apart even at the cost of his life supported him as he slowly walked toward Su Yu. Su Yu's heart trembled as he felt the vengeful spirit's murderous intent that would not rest in peace until it killed Su Yu. I want you to die. The pirate leader roared with resentment as he took another 2 steps forward. What to do? Once he got close, Su Yu would not have any strength to fight back and would be killed on the spot. Second level Holy King, that was an absolute suppression. A life and death crisis, a hopeless situation. It was unprecedentedly intense and hopeless. At this critical moment, Su Yu's eyes flashed with determination. Fight! If he failed, he would be buried in the sea and reduced to a skeleton. If he succeeded, he would break through the shackles of a martial artist and become a holy king. With a low roar in his heart, Su Yu turned around and placed his palm on the ice seal. At the same time, he quickly activated Sigh of Ice and frantically swallowed the cold energy. If he succeeded, Su Yu could break through to the Holy King level. However, the absolute coldness of the ice seal instantly invaded Su Yu's limbs and bones. In an instant, Su Yu was turned into an ice sculpture from the inside out. His breath was extinguished on the spot. The pirate leader gasped. What a terrifying cold energy! His scalp went numb, and he felt a deep surge of numbness. Even he would have died on the spot from that cold energy. Staring at the dead Su Yu, the pirate leader sneered with resentment. I didn't expect you to die not by my hands, but by the ice that you were so proud of. Slowly turning around, the pirate leader strode away, sneering without looking back. Lowly ant, the one to be buried forever in the sea is you. However, before he could take a step forward, he heard a strange sound. Dong, like the sound of a drum. Dong dong, Like thunder in the summer rain. Dong dong dong, in an instant, it was as if thousands of troops and horses were trampling over the mountains. Dong 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 dong. The rapid sound was like the sound of drums, like thunder, like thousands of troops and horses. The quiet seabed suddenly resounded with the sound of a violent storm. That was the sound of a heartbeat. Turning back with a stiff expression, the pirate leader's pupils shrank. In Su Yu's heart, an icy heart seemed to jump out of his chest, beating rapidly. The surrounding cold energy was sucked in like a whale. A strong life force, like a butterfly breaking out of a cocoon and slowly opening his eyes, shook the iceberg. Chapter 114. Boom. The iceberg cracked and shattered, and the cracks were like a spider web that gradually spread out. Wisps of frightening aura slowly seeped out. Breakthrough. Holy King. The pirate chief sucked in a breath of cold air. How is it possible to break through so quickly? The pirate chief was extremely shocked. The difference between a half-step Holy King and a Holy King is that one needs to absorb a large amount of spiritual energy. Under normal circumstances, a half-Holy King would need half a year to absorb enough spirit energy to reach the standard of a Holy King. But how did Su Yu absorb so much spirit energy in such a short time? A layer of whirlpool of seawater surged over and revolved around Su Yu's head. It was filled with spiritual energy, which then entered his body. It's a legacy technique that amplifies spiritual energy. Furthermore, they are supreme-grade legacy cultivation techniques. The pirate chief's pupils constricted as he finally caught a glimpse of the two legacy cultivation techniques sealed in ice. What? It's actually two complete legacy cultivation techniques. The pirate chief was shocked once again. Soon after, a look of wild joy appeared on his face. Great! What a great surprise! Hand it over to Dynasty and you'll be rewarded handsomely. At that moment, the pirate chief finally understood why Su Yu had broken through to the Holy King level so quickly. That was because the Sai of Ice circulated at an extremely fast speed with the help of the cold. Therefore, an ordinary half-step Holy King would need to take things one step at a time, and it would take half a year for them to settle down. As for Su Yu, he completed it in an instant. The aura of a Holy King gradually became stronger. After a short while, he would break through the shackles of a martial artist and step into the ranks of a Holy King. From then on, his physiological limits changed and he became a transcendent existence. At that time, Su Yu's abilities would experience a qualitative leap. The pirate chief grinned. Unfortunately, I won't let you get what you want. Bang! With great difficulty, the pirate chief took a step forward. Crack! The cracks on the iceberg were getting wider and wider, and Su Yu's Holy King aura was getting stronger and stronger. Bang! Crack! Two kinds of voices resounded in the cold, silent sea water. Alternating and changing, hurried and sudden. The seawater surged and the cold air billowed. Amidst the two rapid and alternating sounds, the entire seawater seemed to be pulsating with them. Whoever took the first step would be reborn. It was the pirate chief who had killed Su Yu first. Or would Su Yu be the first to leap over the dragon gate and become the 9 dragons? Bang! Crack! Bang! Crack! More and more urgent, more and more pressing, and more oppressive. The distance between the two was only 10 meters. The pirate chief's sinister grin deepened. The distance between them was closing. The death grew stronger and stronger. 9 meters, 8 meters, 7 meters, 3 meters, 2 meters, finally, the last meter. 1 meter was the killing range of the pirate leader. Su Yu, I won. The pirate chief's lips curled into a sinister smile. He extended a finger and said, "In the name of the Empire of Darkness, I bestow upon you the destruction of darkness." Chila. A streak of flame headed straight for Su Yu, who was trapped in the ice. Fate had finally come to an end. At the last moment of Su Yu's metamorphosis from a cocoon to a butterfly, the carp leaping over the dragon's gate, he encountered the exceptional killing intent of the Empire of Darkness. Boom! The iceberg shattered like a piece of paper. In the blink of an eye, it shattered into pieces. However, within the shattered ice mountain, a pair of purple eyes suddenly opened. The transformed life force was tyrannical and terrifying. The aura of a holy king suppressed the surroundings. An aura of rebirth, a dragon soaring through the 9 heavens, a vast aura that broke through the shackles of heaven and earth swept out in all directions. I, Su Yu, have finally become a holy king. His silver hair fluttered in the wind, and his purple robe made him look like a fairy. Su Yu felt as if he had been reborn. The body of a mortal had broken through the shackles and stepped into the realm of a saint king. His mental appearance was completely new, as if he had been reborn. His handsome facial features were extraordinary, as if he was not a man of the mortal world. A pair of eyes as deep as the starry sky was suffused with a burning brilliance, making it difficult to look directly at him. The Su Yu of this moment had finally been reborn. With a brand new attitude, the body of a holy king, and a peerless elegance, he stood proudly in the mortal world. Chila, the flames attacked. Even the seawater could not extinguish the raging flames, stirring the water. His silver hair fluttered, revealing a pair of deep and calm eyes. Everything is over, Su Yu said calmly, gently extending his palm and lightly clenching it. Creak! The terrifying raging flames were extinguished by Su Yu's palm. The pirate chief's expression suddenly changed. How could this be? You have just broken through to first-level lower-tier Holy King, and you already have the spirit energy of a first-level upper-tier Holy King? Suddenly, the pirate chief's expression changed slightly. That is to say, in that short moment, you comprehended a trace of Sigh of Ice? Your spirit energy was amplified? In the depths of his heart, there was a boundless tremor. In that short moment, someone could actually comprehend a legacy-level cultivation technique. This level of comprehension was not something a human could possess. You do not need to know. Su Yu's expression was indifferent, a beautiful purple lotus appearing in his palm. It was exquisite and beautiful, gently rotating, charming all beings. Destroy! Rumble! A loud sound that shook the sea rose from the depths of the sea, straight into the clouds. The ice god's remnant temple trembled and buzzed, collapsing with a rumble. Puff! The pirate chief was overwhelmed with shock. In the terrifying explosion, he vomited blood and was sent flying. In the battle with the sea beast, his body was seriously injured. His strength was only 30% of his peak, equivalent to a first-level peak Holy King. The power of the Purple Star Thunderbolt, after being imbued with rich spirit energy, had increased by several levels. Su Yu, who had broken through to Holy King, was terrifying. Swish! The pirate chief no longer hesitated, immediately escaping. Can you escape? Su Yu glanced back. More than 90% of the ice seal had been absorbed by Su Yu. Only the last, weak layer was left, and as the sea surged, it shattered. The cultivation technique that had been sealed for countless years turned into dust and dissipated. Thank you, seniors, for your kindness. Su Yu bowed. If not for what they had left behind before they died, Su Yu would have been buried in the sea today. He got up and looked at the fleeing pirate chief, his eyes cold. Next, it's my turn to hunt you down. Whoosh! After breaking through to Holy King, his speed had soared. The pirate chief was seriously injured and was far from his peak. The two of them, one chasing and the other fleeing, streaked across the sky. Purple Star Thunderbolt! Boom! The pirate chief's right arm was blown off. He screamed and turned back to plead, Su Yu, everything can be discussed, why do you have to chase me down? You never gave me a chance to discuss, why should I be merciful? Su Yu's expression was calm and indifferent. How could he forgive being forced into a dead end by this person? The pirate chief's face was full of bitterness and remorse. He clenched his teeth, dragged his injured body, and fled into the sea. Countless sea beasts stared in horror. A purple-clothed expert had crossed thousands of miles of sea to chase after the infamous Sea Wolves' pirate leader. That silver-haired, purple-robed figure was like a king. After chasing for half a day, the pirate chief was finally caught up. Let's perish together. The pirate chief had nowhere to run, and his determination to die was aroused. Su Yu's expression was indifferent. You don't even have the right to perish together with me. The purple lotus flickered, spinning in his palm, and floated down along with Su Yu's palm. A thunderous roar that shook the clouds and resounded for thousands of miles suddenly exploded. A desperate scream reverberated in the sky. The pirate chief's chest exploded. His eyes filled with the unwillingness to die, empty and lifeless. A second-level holy king, a silver-robed guard of the Empire of Darkness, had fallen. Su Yu was indifferent, taking the jade token from his waist. At the same time, he found a legacy-level cultivation technique in his robes. 5 Dragon Blaze, a top-notch legacy-level cultivation technique. It was a remnant of a book with as many as 2 levels. Thinking back to this cultivation technique, the condensed flames could not be extinguished by seawater, nor could the cold be extinguished. Its power was extraordinary. Su Yu was envious, but after pondering for a moment, he suppressed his desire. Fire-based cultivation techniques were not suitable for him. Forcefully cultivating it would only bring harm and no benefit. But its value was unquestionable. If given to the 100 vassal clans, they would agree to any condition. With a flash of his eyes, Su Yu immediately left, looking for a secluded island, and sat cross-legged to cultivate. Having just become a holy king, he urgently needed to consolidate his realm. Moreover, he had absorbed a lot of cold energy, gaining a deeper understanding of the cold. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he needed to comprehend the remnant of glazed ice flame, the complete icy divine wings, and the complete sigh of ice. There was also Purple Star Thunderbolt, only a sliver of understanding away from top class. As for his holy decree, it was still at the saint grade level, only a sliver away from the next realm. While he was in seclusion, the sea within a 1,000-mile radius changed. A few days later, beside the corpse of the pirate chief, 3 strong fighters from the Lucian faction appeared. One of them was the deputy clan master of the External Affairs Division, Qin Gang. His abilities had reached 4th level Holy King. Behind him were 2 cold-faced men in black robes, their abilities reaching 3rd level Holy King. They were the law enforcement disciples of the Law Enforcement Division. Qin Gang revealed a look of surprise. What do you 2 think? The eyes of the Law Enforcement Division disciples were filled with shock. There is no mistaking his identity. He should be our target this time, the leader of the Sea Wolves pirates. 2nd level lower tier Holy King. The Law Enforcement Division disciple on the left said. However, they knew that his identity was no longer the main point. The main point was that he had been killed. From the state he was in at the moment of his death, he was exhausted from being chased and died because he was no match for the enemy. The other law enforcement disciple's voice was filled with shock. Qin Gang was extremely solemn. It was rumored that he had cultivated an extremely powerful legacy-level cultivation technique. Even a normal 2nd-level upper-tier Holy King would not be able to kill him. However, he was chased to death. How terrifying is his ability! The 2 law enforcement disciples were deeply in awe. Even though their cultivation had reached 3rd-level Holy King, they had never had the opportunity to come into contact with the legendary legacy-level cultivation technique. Even for Qin Gang, he had only managed to read a remnant of a legacy-level cultivation technique through Shirulan and Han Ji's gift a few months ago. Such a pirate chief had actually been chased to death. There was actually such a strong fighter in the nearby sea? Bring his corpse back and hand it over to the faction to verify his origins. Humph, he snatched a disciple of the Lucian faction. He really doesn't know how to spell the word death. Qin Gang thought for a moment and ordered. The 2 law enforcement disciples immediately preserved the corpse. Deputy Clan Master Qin, where is Clan Master Shi? Other than Su Yu and Lu Guang, we have gathered the rest of the disciples safely. It is time to return to the faction. Qin Gang calmly said, we will wait quietly on that island. Clan Master Shi naturally has other matters to attend to. Somewhere in the sea, a delicate figure flickered. Her hand was like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, grabbing out of the water. A fish appeared in her hand. With a flick of her finger, the fish spat out a jade pendant from its mouth. Shi Rulin grabbed the jade pendant, her eyes cold. You took precautions and placed the jade pendant into the fish's stomach to prevent me from killing you? Cunning indeed. You wasted so much of my time. If Su Yu was here, he would definitely be glad that he had foresight. Otherwise, he would have to meet Shi Rulin alone in the uninhabited sea. The result was obvious. If that happened, no one would know if he was killed. Shi Rulin softly muttered, are you going to die, or are you going to escape? Little did she know that within a certain island, ice was being released. A powerful icy might, accompanied by a long and comfortable roar, condensed the entire island reef. Chapter 115. Returning to the gathering island, Shi Rulin looked around at Wu Pangyun, Yun Yan and the others, and said lightly, this mission has ended. Thank you for your hard work. As compensation, the sect will reward you according to your contributions when you return. You will be rewarded according to the number of pirates you kill. Let's return to the sect, Shi Rulin said. Yun Yan looked around anxiously. Please wait. Su Yu has not returned yet. Him? He deserves to die here. Wu Pangyun coldly shouted. Recalling how Su Yu and Yun Yan had abandoned him, he was filled with resentment. Yun Yan angrily rebuked, a shameless person like you should die here. At this critical moment, I, Yun Yan, will not let this matter rest. During the breakout, Wu Pangyun was despicable and shameless. As a result, she had fallen into the hands of a first-level upper-tier holy king and was almost humiliated. If not for Su Yu's arrival, she would have lost her chastity a long time ago. She would have been raped to death by many men. Upon hearing this, Wu Pangyun's face stiffened slightly and his gaze shifted. Princess Yun Yan's fiancé was an inner sanctum expert. Regardless of whether he's alive or dead, if he's unable to gather here on time, he'll be considered to have failed the test. Let's go, Shi Rulin coldly said. Whoosh, the giant bird spread its wings, and a strong gust of wind blew straight into the sky. Yun Yan's eyes were filled with self-blame and worry. Was Su Yu still alive? Suddenly, Yun Yan caught a glimpse of a purple shadow flashing in the clouds in the distance. His speed was shockingly fast under the crystalline light and shadow. It's Su Yu. Even though she did not see the figure clearly, Yun Yan's intuition told her that it was Su Yu. Everyone turned around to look, and they couldn't help but be surprised. The 2 disciplinary hall's disciples were shocked. What a fast speed! He is no weaker than a second-level Saint King. Qin Gang's eyes gradually narrowed. He actually broke through to Holy King. Wu Pangyun's expression instantly turned ugly. He gritted his teeth and said, not only is he not dead, but he is also alive. He actually broke through to Saint King. If Su Yu, who was half a holy king, could fight him to a draw, wouldn't it be more likely that he would be defeated after becoming a holy king? Yun Yan was pleasantly surprised, her beautiful face brimming with joy from the bottom of her heart. Whoosh, the silver-haired, purple-robed man gradually caught up. It was Su Yu. His aura was natural, as if he was an ordinary youth. A pair of wings condensed from ice flapped soundlessly behind Su Yu's back. The pair of wings were like a pair of flying swan wings. The feathers were distinct and the meridians were distinct. It was vivid and lifelike. Their entire bodies were sparkling and translucent ice, transparent without any impurities, beautiful and dreamy. At first glance, it was like a ball of icy light, shocking in an instant. Divine icy wings, first form. Flying swan wings. Shi Rulan's cold eyes were filled with surprise. Not only did he not die, he even broke through to Saint King. Moreover, he had obtained an inherited level movement technique. Now that things had come to this, Shi Rulan no longer had any excuse. She coldly snorted, "Come up." Shua Suyu floated in the air, and kept the flying swan wings back into his body. His aura was completely concealed. But for some unknown reason, all the disciples, including Wu Pangyun, felt a king-like pressure. Princess Yunyan smiled and said, "Looks like you can go find the woman you love on your own." Suyu cupped his fists and smiled. "Thank you." At this moment, Suyu had undergone a complete transformation, both inside and outside. His facial features were even more handsome, and he didn't look like a man from the mortal world. A pair of eyes as deep as the starry sky was embellished with vigor. Yunyan looked at each other and was slightly dazed. Her pretty face blushed as she recalled the 5 shy and indescribable days on the island. She lowered her head and no longer dared to look into Suyu's eyes. Half a day later, they returned to the faction. At the External Affairs Division, a group of disciples were rewarded based on their contributions. Wu Pangyun killed a first-level lower-tier Holy King bandit, so he will be rewarded with a low-grade marrow-cleansing pill. Yun Yen killed 3 half-step Holy Kings, so she will be rewarded with 3 divine-grade spirit elixirs. The rest will be rewarded according to their contributions, Shi Rulan said lightly. Only Wu Pangyun and the other 2 Holy Kings could receive the rewards. The rest of the disciples were already secretly glad to be able to keep their lives. Wait! Suyu glanced at Shi Rulan. Previously, if you reach 100 points, you will meet 3 requirements. Does that not count? Shi Rulan's lips curled into a mocking smile. You reached 100 points? The rewards for this mission were all to encourage them to participate. They never imagined that someone could pass. Even if it was Wu Pangyun, it was impossible. With his abilities, even if he was lucky enough to kill 4 first-level lower-tier Holy Kings, he would only get 40 points. If he was lucky enough to kill another first-level upper-tier Holy King, he would only get 20 points. After stacking them, he would only get 60 points. This was an impossible mission. Their only role was to act as bait. Slap, however, what made everyone petrified was Suyu actually took out more than 10 jade tokens in one go. Counting them, there were 10 half-Holy Kings, 5 first-level lower-tier Holy Kings, 1 first-level upper-tier Holy King, 1 first-level peak Holy King, a total of 110 points. Swoosh, Shi Rulan and Qin Gang suddenly stood up and examined the jade tokens. After confirming that they were indeed the Sea Wolves pirates' personal jade tokens, they could not hide their shock. The crowd of disciples gasped, their scalps tingling. He actually killed 7 Holy Kings alone. Among them, there were first-level upper-tier Holy Kings and even first-level peak Holy Kings. The crowd stared at Suyu as if they were looking at a monster. It would be understandable if he had killed all half-Holy Kings, but half of the Holy Kings he killed were extremely powerful Holy Kings. Yunyan covered her red lips, unable to hide her shock. The first-level peak Holy King who was chasing after Suyu had been dealt with by him? A powerful feeling of invincibility welled up in her heart. Shi Rulan's gaze flickered for a long time before she gradually calmed down. A total of 110 points, you have indeed met the requirements. The first reward is a medium-grade marrow-cleansing elixir. The second reward is guidance from an elder. Only the third reward, entry into the inner sanctum, cannot be fulfilled. The first 2 rewards were still acceptable, but entry into the inner sanctum could not be allowed. The inner sanctum was strictly guarded. Only the truly gifted could enter. Suyu was far from reaching that level and did not have the qualifications to enter. The faction had only promised the 3 rewards verbally, and had never intended to fulfill them. But who knew that Suyu would actually complete the impossible mission? They could only bite the bullet and fulfill the promises that were easy to fulfill. Cannot enter the inner sanctum? Why? Su Yu stared at her. Shi Rulan calmly said, "No reason. If I say no, then no. This mission's requirement is to annihilate the Sea Wolves pirates. There are still dozens of half-holy king pirates who have escaped. Strictly speaking, the mission has not been completed, so the first two rewards should not be fulfilled. But since you have killed so many pirates and helped the people, I will reluctantly fulfill them," Shi Rulan said forcefully. Su Yu was furious. Humph. If you still don't know what's good for you, I will erase the two rewards," Shi Rulan said coldly. "Fine. I will remember what happened today." Su Yu was furious. The inner sanctum was the greatest reward for this mission. Once he entered the inner sanctum, he would have access to countless resources and his cultivation path would be smooth. As for the outer sanctum, it would be an endless stream of chores. If there was no opportunity, there would be no chance of success. Hold on to the medium-grade marrow-cleansing elixir. The second reward, which elder would you like to receive guidance from for a day? Go ask him now. After you receive the feedback, you can go pay your respects and listen to his teachings. Shi Rulan calmly threw a dark blue elixir to Su Yu. Su Yu grasped it and said without hesitation, "I want to receive guidance from the second elder." This was his only chance to get close to the second elder. If he revealed the relationship between Li Guang and the second elder, he might receive some protection. The second elder? Shi Rulan and Qin Gang both glanced at Su Yu strangely before lightly nodding. The reward based on merit had come to an end. Shi Rulan coldly glanced at Su Yu, then looked around at the crowd. After a moment of silence, she quietly said, "Also, there is one thing I need to inform all of you. This is the decision of the faction's higher-ups. All of you can only accept your fate." Everyone was startled, a bad premonition surging in their hearts. According to the faction's orders, after you have completed the mission, the faction will grant you a small request when you are dismissed, such as receiving a medium-grade marrow-cleansing elixir. Shi Rulan calmly announced a shocking piece of news. Wu Pangyun was shocked. "Clan Master Shi, you mean the faction wants to expel us? Why? We were just bait for the faction and suffered. Why would they still expel us?" Yun Yan's delicate body trembled, unable to believe such a shocking news. Su Yu's eyes were also filled with shock, even suspecting that Shi Rulan had faked the faction's orders. But after thinking about it calmly, Su Yu's expression turned ugly. "This is the faction's order, there is no why. Tell us your requests, the faction will try its best to satisfy them," Shi Rulan expressionlessly said. Countless people felt deeply angry, wronged, and puzzled. Su Yu sighed in his heart. It was precisely because of their grievances that the faction could not keep them. Imagine, a group of disciples had been mercilessly used as bait by the faction, barely making it out alive. How could they not feel resentment? This kind of people's sense of belonging to the faction would certainly be difficult to compare with that of ordinary disciples, and their loyalty in the future would be difficult to measure. Entering the faction, harboring resentment and secretly sabotaging and slandering the faction would not be worth the loss. The best way to deal with them was to compensate them with something and send them home. In all fairness, compared to a medium-grade marrow-cleansing elixir, the latter was more tempting. The Lucian faction was considered generous on this point. Seeing Shi Rulan's calm and determined expression, many half-holy kings gritted their teeth and finally nodded. "Then I want a medium-grade marrow-cleansing elixir." For a half-holy king, swallowing a medium-grade marrow-cleansing elixir had a high probability of breaking through to the holy king level. Most families could not afford a medium-grade marrow-cleansing elixir. Now that they had one, it was not a grievance. "Me too. Me too." Out of the 25 people, only Su Yu, Princess Yun Yan and Wu Pangyun were left in the blink of an eye. "What about you guys?" Shi Rulan asked calmly. Wu Pangyun gritted his teeth. I don't want to leave. I still have hope of entering the inner sanctum. A 15-year-old first-level upper-tier holy king indeed had hope of entering the inner sanctum. Shirulan looked at Princess Yunyan. What about you? You also want to enter the inner sanctum? An 18-year-old first-level lower-tier holy king was far inferior to Wu Pangyun. There was no hope of entering the inner sanctum. Biting her red lips, Princess Yunyan said, If I choose to leave, can I request to borrow a legacy-level technique from the depository of scriptures for me to read? Shirulan's expression turned cold. Many of your families enter the Lucian faction with the purpose of obtaining legacy-level techniques for your family. You know this, and the faction also knows this. But with this little bit of hard work, you are far from qualified to read the legacy-level techniques of the faction. Yunyan's heart was seen through. She blushed and lowered her head in silence. What about you? Su Yu. After receiving the medium-grade marrow cleansing elixir and a day of guidance from an elder, you must also leave the faction. No one can defy the faction's orders. A hint of mockery appeared at the corner of her mouth. Su Yu was still excluded from the faction after all. Su Yu said without hesitation, I want to stay in the faction. Yun Yen bit her lips and revealed a determined expression. I want to stay too. Only by staying and contributing to the faction could she obtain a legacy-level technique for her family. Even if she had to suffer in the outer sanctum, she would not hesitate. Wu Pangyun also stepped forward. Me too. I, Wu Pangyun, will never be so mediocre in my life. Shirulan's expression did not change. The faction's orders are not for the three of you to interfere. If you are told to leave, you can only obey. Su Yu laughed angrily. Is this the Lucian faction? After using your disciples, you give them some benefits and chase them away? How magnanimous of you! Humph. One more word and I'll behead you. Shirulan's murderous intent flared. She wanted to use this opportunity to get rid of Su Yu. Su Yu was burning with anger. It was not easy for him to enter the Lucian faction, but to miss it like this? Are you the one who said the Lucian faction is magnanimous? How dare you? If you want to die, I'll grant your wish. A cold voice suddenly sounded behind Su Yu. Su Yu was shocked. Who was it that had appeared behind him without him noticing? No, even Shirulan, who was facing him, had not noticed. This meant that this person's speed was beyond the limits of Shirulan's eyes. Second Elder. Greetings, Second Elder. Qin Gang was scared out of his wits, kneeling on the ground on the spot. Shirulan was also shocked. She hurriedly knelt down respectfully. Second Elder. Su Yu looked back to see a disfigured and ugly face. It was frightening. But what made Su Yu's heart sink was that this second elder was the ugly woman at the entrance of the depository of scriptures. Su Yu had even spoken rudely to her that day. Being looked at by an ugly face, Su Yu's heart completely sank. The person he had offended was the second elder. He had completely missed the opportunity to enter the Lucian faction. No. Perhaps whether or not he could leave the Lucian faction alive was still a question. Now that the outburst was over, why wasn't she coming to recommend, get monthly votes, and reward him? Also, let's talk about the book currency issue. The world of creation is 5 book currency for 1,000 words. If my chapter has 3,000 words, it would be 15 book currency. If it has 4,000 words, it would be 20 book currency. So sometimes the book currency for each chapter is different. This is due to the number of words. The price is the same and has not changed. Chapter 116. But thinking back, Su Yu was furious. That's right. So what if it was me? Have I ever said anything wrong? Su Yu said coldly. If the Lucian faction was magnanimous, why would you make use of ignorant disciples and put us in danger? If you were magnanimous, why would you chase us away for fear that we would harm the faction? If you were magnanimous, why would you not allow us to speak the truth as an elder? Shirulan and Qin Gang gasped. Elders were the most powerful people in the Lucien faction. Even though the second elder had come personally, with Shi Rulin and Qin Gang's rank, they might not even have the chance to see an elder once a year. Out of the 10 elders, other than Han Ji whom he was familiar with, the other 9 elders were extremely secretive. It was difficult for ordinary people to see their faces. Shi Rulin could not understand. She had clearly asked the second elder to tell her that there was a disciple who needed her guidance for a day. Why, with her lofty status, would she lower herself to come here personally? However, what made them suck in a breath of cold air was, not only did Su Yu contradict her, he even reprimanded the second elder. Among the 10 great elders, the second elder was temperamental and unreasonable. Even the faction master had to be wary of her. Su Yu's words were asking for death. The second elder was startled for a moment. Then, he became angry and embarrassed. His ugly face twisted and he rolled his eyes. A cold light flickered in his eyes. "Brat, do you think that as an elder, I won't lower myself to attack you?" Her murderous intent pierced Su Yu's heart like an icy arrow. Su Yu laughed bitterly. "You are a high and mighty elder. You would come to me to vent your anger over a sentence in front of the depository of scriptures. What else would you not do?" The second elder's murderous intent deepened. She extended a finger and pointed at Su Yu. Su Yu instinctively wanted to dodge, but was shocked to realize that his body had stiffened under her finger. It was as if the spirit energy and blood energy within his body had been frozen, unable to be mobilized. Just a finger had caused Su Yu to lose the ability to resist. What kind of unfathomable realm was an elder of the faction? At that moment, Su Yu felt as if he was a tiny human looking up at the boundless sky. The difference in ability between him and the second elder was like an ant, while the other was like the heavens. Thump! A cold finger touched the space between Su Yu's eyebrows. The second elder's eyes were filled with killing intent. The corners of his mouth curled into a cold smile. "Correct. When I kill someone, I never care about my status. I don't care what others think." The energy of a finger penetrated the finger and shattered Su Yu's brain. Su Yu felt bitter in his heart. It was not easy for him to go from Xunyue Island to the Zhenlong continent. It was not easy for him to take half a step into the faction. But in the end it stopped here? If I die, who will avenge Li Guang? If I die, who will take care of Xian in the future? If I die, will Jingyu be sad when she finds out? Xian Goodbye, Su Yu muttered as he revealed a sad smile. However, the moment the energy was released, the finger between his eyebrows stopped for a moment. Xian Is it Qin Xian Su Yu was startled and his gaze turned ice-cold. "What? Do you want to take revenge on the people around me? Who is she to you? If you don't answer, I'll kill her first, and then I'll kill you," the second elder said fiercely. Su Yu was furious. "Don't go too far. I'll kill her first." The second elder was filled with killing intent. Su Yu was filled with grief. Was this the Zhenlong continent? It was cruel and realistic, far more so than Xunyue Island. He had thought that he could cultivate peacefully by entering the Lucien faction, but reality was cold and cruel. His and Xian Er's lives were in the hands of a single thought. "She is my fiancée. I came from Xunyue Island to find her." Su Yu stared at the second elder. "I can die, but she is innocent. If you dare harm a single hair on her, I, Su Yu, will make sure you never have peace even as a ghost." However, the second elder slowly retracted his finger. His eyes were filled with mockery as he said, "Fiancé? Yes." Su Yu did not understand. Why did she give up on killing him? What did the mockery in her eyes mean? The second elder smiled. "Why did I hear that a young lady called Qin Xian is about to marry Han Ji's first disciple, Chao Xian?" Chao Xian, the youth who had gone to the Xunyue continent to welcome them. His abilities had reached the dragon realm. Su Yu felt like he was struck by lightning. How is that possible? Xian'er and Chao Xian's wedding? The second elder's smile deepened. Yes. Han Ji is the matchmaker, and Xian'er's only relative, Su Rong, has agreed. The two of them are about to get married. Everyone in the faction knows about it. Thud, thud, thud. Su Yu's heart shook, his eyes lost. How could she marry Chao Xian? Coming back to his senses, he recalled Xian'er's innocent and adorable face. He shook his head. This was not Xian'er's intention. Xian'er was pure and loyal. She would never willingly marry Chao Xian. It was Su Rong, that old dog. That was the only reason he could think of. She had looked down on Su Yu and betrothed him to Lu Guang. She still looked down on Su Yu and betrothed him to Chao Xian. How many months until the wedding? Su Yu's fingers dug into his flesh, a heart-wrenching pain spreading from his chest. He had come to the Lucian faction with much difficulty, but all he got was this hopeless situation? Ability. If Su Yu had abilities that no one dared to underestimate, why would Su Rong dare to look down on him and betroth Xian'er to outsiders? Before the wedding, Su Yu wanted to raise his abilities crazily and bring Xian'er away from the Lucian faction. Even if he disobeyed the faction, even if he was hunted down, even if he became the enemy of the world, he wanted to bring Xian'er away. The world was big, where could he find a place for her? At most, the two of them could travel the world hand in hand. How many months? The second elder's mocking expression deepened. The wedding is in 5 days. What? 5 days? Su Yu felt as if he had been struck by lightning, his body trembling. Xian'er had only entered the faction for a few days. How could she marry someone so hastily? Haha, how sad, your fiancé is marrying another man? What a pitiful person. The second elder shook her head in pity, her tone mocking. I will not deal with a pitiful person like you. It's more interesting to watch you live pitifully at the bottom of the world, being trampled on by others. The second elder's face was filled with the joy of revenge, waiting to watch a good show. Xian'er. Su Yu was furious. Whoosh, leaving the External Affairs Division in a flash, Su Yu charged straight for the inner sanctum. There was no time. It was too late. He was going to bring Xian'er away now. Whoosh. He flew past the boundary between the inner sanctum and the outer sanctum. The inner sanctum was heavily guarded. Without an inner sanctum pass, no one from the outer sanctum could enter. Even Shi Rulan, as a clan master, had no right to enter the inner sanctum without an inner sanctum elder's summons. The Lucian faction was formed by 18 floating meteorites. 17 of the smaller meteorites surrounded the giant meteorite in the middle. It was as if the stars were surrounding the moon. That was the legendary inner sanctum. There was a powerful barrier between the inner sanctum meteorite and the 17 outer sanctum meteorites. It was impossible to cross it by flying. There was only one path. That was a steel bridge. Whoosh, Su Yu landed in front of the steel bridge, anxiously charging towards it. Rumble, however, before the person arrived, a terrifying force came crashing down. Su Yu reacted quickly, using his spirit energy to block with his arms. Puff, thud, thud, thud. Su Yu spat out a mouthful of blood, grunting as he retreated. Looking over, a black-armored guard stood with his hands behind his back in front of the steel bridge. His piercing eyes glared at Su Yu. Trespassing into the inner sanctum is punishable by death. Step down immediately, the black-armored guard coldly shouted. His abilities had reached the terrifying 3rd level Holy King. Su Yu's heart burned with anger. He did not even have the right to enter the inner sanctum, much less take Xian'er away. Could it be that he had to watch Xian'er marry Chao Xian in 5 days? Whoosh, at this moment, Yun Yan, who was worried about Su Yu, rushed over. Su Yu. Yun Yan supported Su Yu, taking out a clean handkerchief to wipe the blood from the corner of Su Yu's mouth. Don't be like this, the sacred grounds of the inner sanctum are not open to trespassers. Only those with status in the inner sanctum, or those who have been summoned, can enter. Yun Yan stared at the black-armored guard with fear. Su Yu clenched his fists, his fingers digging into his flesh, a trickle of blood trickling down. But Su Yu's mind was filled with sorrow and anger. The pain no longer stimulated his nerve. He had thought that with the unusual spirit body, he could step onto the Zhenlong continent and compete with the world. He had thought that as a holy king, he would have the opportunity to improve and reunite with Xian'er. But the cruel reality was that Su Yu was too weak as an ant. Knowing that his fiancée was being forced to marry someone else, he could not even cross a bridge. He did not even have the right to walk in front of her, let alone bring her away. Su Yu's inner roar and boundless anger shook his soul. His heart was shaken to the depths of his soul. Buzz, 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 in his mind, the divine nine-dragon cauldron sensed the drastic change in Su Yu's emotions and shook. A stream of red liquid rolled down from the wound. This time, within the 9 dragons carved by the divine nine-dragon cauldron. A red dragon was undergoing a baptism. 1 inch of its 10-inch body had solidified into a red crystal. This scene was extremely similar to the crystallization of the purple dragon. Every time it solidified, Su Yu's abilities would increase. But the purple dragon represented time acceleration. What did the red dragon represent? Su Yu did not have time to think. Just like the first time the divine nine-dragon cauldron entered his mind, the baptism of the purple dragon produced a heart-wrenching pain. Su Yu fainted on the spot. Before he fainted, he felt himself falling into a warm and fragrant embrace. When Su Yu regained consciousness, it was already half a day later. There were only 4.5 days left to the 5-day wedding. Xian'er! Su Yu let out a cry, suddenly opening his eyes. A gentle hand gently caressed Su Yu's head, a gentle voice filled with sympathy and comfort. Su Yu, you're awake? Su Yu looked over. He was lying in Yun Yan's embrace, his head resting on her ample breasts. He had been unconscious for half a day. Yun Yan's face was red. Su Yu had fainted too suddenly. She could only bring him to a nearby pavilion and let him rest in her arms. I'm sorry, Su Yu got up, apologizing. Once he woke up, his mind was filled with Xian'er's beautiful figure. She was going to get married. His palms trembled. Su Yu could not suppress the grief in his heart. Looking at the inner sanctum's fallen star, he felt a deep sorrow. It was clearly right in front of him, but he did not have the qualifications to cross the metal bridge. Could it be that, after experiencing so many difficulties, he would have to bid farewell to Xian'er forever? Su Yu, don't be like this. Yun Yan's eyes were filled with sympathy, like an older sister. She patted Su Yu's shoulder, comforting him gently. There is always helplessness in this world. Under the law of the jungle, we, the weak, can only obey. Only by understanding this principle can we work hard in the face of adversity. Su Yu's voice was choked, his eyes filled with unwillingness. I can't accept this. Xian'er. His voice was trembling, filled with helplessness and despair. In order to find Xian'er, he had traveled from the Xianyu prefecture to the Empire of Death, then from the Empire to the Sanctuary. He had disobeyed the Holy King and risked his life in the evil forest. His goal was to go to Fenghuang Valley to welcome Xian'er. But when he arrived at Fenghuang Valley, Xian'er was brought to the Zhenlong continent. And when Su Yu had chased her to the Zhenlong continent, Xian'er had been forced to marry someone. At this moment, he did not even have the qualifications to see Xian'er. He could only stand in front of the metal bridge and watch Xian'er marry someone else. He could only be the most miserable wretch in the world. Apart from shouting and raging, there was nothing else he could do. Fate was so cruel, it could play tricks on people. Hearing Su Yu's unwilling roar, Yun Yan's heart trembled. Her beautiful eyes were filled with sympathy and sympathy. Even when facing a first-level peak holy king, Su Yu had never lost his composure. He was calm and collected, like a mountain collapsing. But at this moment, his body was trembling. Chapter 117. Su Yu's eyes, which were in a daze, were suddenly filled with astonishment. Whoosh, turning around, Su Yu forgot his propriety. He grabbed Yun Yan's shoulder tightly and said anxiously, "Speak." Yun Yan groaned in pain. "You're hurting me." "I'm sorry, Yun Yan, I was rude." Su Yu realized he had lost control and hurriedly let go, his apology mixed with urgency as he stared into Yun Yan's beautiful eyes. Yun Yan rubbed her aching shoulder, her heart filled with resentment, but more than that, envy. If Su Yu could do so much for his beloved fiancé, what about her fiancé in the inner sanctum? A trace of sadness and helplessness welled up in her heart. "It's simple," Yun Yan said. "After you left just now, the second elder gave the three of us who did not want to leave the faction a chance, and that is to participate in the Fallen Star contest tomorrow." Su Yu did not understand. Fallen Star contest? Yun Yan nodded. "Yes. It is an annual contest in the outer sanctum, usually held a month after the recruitment test, which happens to be tomorrow. The Fallen Star contest gathers all the outstanding talents in the outer sanctum and holds a friendly competition. If you can cause the icy pearl above the icy azure lake to vibrate, you will successfully qualify to enter the inner sanctum and avoid the fate of being expelled. At that time, you should have a chance to meet your fiancé," Yun Yan slowly explained. In Yun Yan's vision, Su Yu's grief and anger had been replaced by determination, making it difficult for her to look him in the eye. "But the chances are very slim. It's as good as nothing." Yun Yan could not bear to hurt Su Yu. The last time someone passed the Fallen Star contest was 100 years ago. That was Clan Master Shi. With the resources provided by Han Ji, he finally broke through the shackles and entered the inner sanctum. After her, no other outer sanctum disciple has passed. Yun Yan's expression dimmed. To activate the icy pearl, one must at least have the fighting power of level 2 peak. How many outer sanctum disciples can reach level 2 peak? Although the second elder had given the three of them a chance, the chances were slim, close to zero. But what shocked Yun Yan was that Su Yu did not show any signs of disappointment, worry, or hesitation. Instead, the determination in his eyes became even more piercing. "Su Yu, have you never felt despair?" Yun Yan could not understand the look in Su Yu's eyes. Su Yu raised his head to look at the sky. Beneath his silver hair, his eyes were as deep as the stars. The corners of his mouth curled into a smile as he looked up at the sky and laughed. "The most despairing person in the world isn't having a slim hope, but rather having no hope at all. Give me a shred of hope. I, Su Yu, can create a miracle." Su Yu clenched his fists tightly, his eyes shining with unprecedented brightness. He was not afraid of having little hope. He was only afraid of not giving him the slightest bit of hope. A glimmer of hope, a miracle of the world. Yun Yan's delicate body trembled, her heart pounding. She stared at Su Yu, feeling that his figure was unprecedentedly tall. It was as if Su Yu could feel a majestic will that was unwilling to be shackled, rising against the heavens, and tearing apart the world. It was vast and majestic, and it filled Su Yu's entire body. A trace of admiration, a trace of respect, and a trace of inferiority mixed together in his heart. The reason why Su Yu was so dazzling, charming, and imposing was not because he was handsome and charming, nor was it because of his extraordinary strength, but because of his incomparable defying will. Su Yu was able to go against all the obstacles in his life, and he was able to go against all the difficulties in his life. Like a comet, he cut through the cold, starry sky, leaving the world with a breathtaking scene. Yun Yan stared at him blankly, her maiden heart gently wavering. But after a moment she finally restrained herself. She understood that she was attracted to Su Yu's will, but it was only a momentary good feeling. But if she continued to indulge in the majestic defying will, it was inevitable that she would be unable to extricate herself. "I have a fiancé, I can't do this," Yun Yan muttered in her heart, and a ripple quickly calmed down. When she looked at Su Yu again, Her eyes were clear, and her beautiful eyes were full of sincere wishes. Su-yu, I hope you can get what you want in tomorrow's battle. Su-yu was grateful and asked, What about you? Yun-yen smiled sadly. The family has already prepared a way out for me, you don't have to worry. After saying this, she elegantly turned around and left alone. She did not have Su-yu's will, nor did she have Su-yu's strength. There was no hope for the Fallen Star contest. Her only purpose in entering the Lucien faction was to find a legacy-level technique for the family? Su-yu rubbed the 5 dragon blaze in his sleeves, unsure if this scroll was suitable for her. The fire-based legacy-level technique, cultivated by the silver-robed guards of the Empire of Darkness, was not suitable for Su-yu. It would be better to give it to Yun-yen as a parting gift, as well as a repayment for their previous acquaintance. But now was not the time. The 100 vassal clans did not have a legacy-level technique. If he gave it to Yun-yen in front of everyone, she might not be able to return to the family alive. Other than them, there were also the black-armored guards in front of the iron bridge, as well as 2 or 3 scattered people. It was not convenient to take it out. He needed to find a time when there was no one around to secretly give it to Yun-yen. Returning to the temporary quarters of the outer sanctum, Su-yu sat in seclusion. He took out a medium-grade marrow-cleansing elixir. It was dark blue in color, and its medicinal power was 100 times that of a low-grade marrow-cleansing elixir. Tomorrow is the Fallen Star contest. The outer sanctum has accumulated countless years of outer sanctum experts. It is necessary to increase any bit of strength. Su-yu opened his mouth and swallowed. In an instant, the powerful medicinal power filled his limbs, cleansing his flesh and bones. A layer of viscous liquid flowed out of Su-yu's pores like mercury. A sense of ease and comfort welled up in his heart. It was as if a heavy burden had been removed. His body was clear inside and out. Not only was his body as light as a goose feather, but his soul had also been freed from its shackles and was extremely ethereal. His entire temperament changed once again, as if he was a person from a painting. This was the physical limit, a step away from the appearance of a mortal. The medicinal power was 100 times that of a low-grade marrow-cleansing elixir, fierce and powerful beyond imagination. After the cleansing, most of the impurities in his body had been expelled, becoming transparent like an unpolished jade. The speed at which he absorbed energy was even faster. That day, the cold energy absorbed by the Ice Divine Temple was too vast. A large portion of it was difficult for his body to absorb, and it had settled in his flesh. Now that his body had become transparent, it had begun to absorb the settled cold energy. Coupled with the medium-grade marrow-cleansing elixir, it carried a powerful energy. The two combined, and a surge of energy swept through Su-yu's body like 10,000 galloping horses. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Su-yu's cultivation level surged like a torrent, easily crossing the threshold of first-level upper-tier Holy King, advancing towards first-level peak Holy King. After a few hours, he finally stopped before first-level peak Holy King. He was just a step away from breaking through the shackles. As expected of the medium-grade marrow-cleansing elixir, its effects were beyond compare. Unfortunately, it was not easy to obtain and could not be consumed for long periods of time. Time was tight, so Su-yu quickly entered the state of time acceleration of 200 times to comprehend what he had learned. The next morning, Su-yu slowly opened his eyes, a hint of helplessness in his eyes. That day, Su-yu had taken the opportunity to absorb the ice seal to comprehend glazed ice flame, icy divine wings, and sigh of ice. However, only the movement technique icy divine wings was relatively easy to comprehend. He had broken through stage 1 lower class and cultivated the flying wings. Although glazed ice flame and sigh of ice had made great progress, they were still a step away from stage 1 lower class. Glazed ice flame was known as the best of the legacy-level techniques, its power unpredictable. If he could comprehend stage 1 lower class, its power would be extraordinary. If Psy of Ice could comprehend Stage 1 lower class, his spiritual energy would be 30% denser than his peers, and the power of the same technique would be 30% stronger. Extremely impressive. Unfortunately, both were still a step away from lower class. Suyu murmured, "If I can encounter something extremely cold, maybe I can break through both legacy-level techniques and reach a whole new level." Finally, Purple Star Thunderbolt was only a step away from top class. The Saint Grade Holy Decree, after a long period of comprehension, also showed signs of transforming to a whole new level. Suyu could sense that he was currently at a bottleneck that was awaiting a transformation. Once the opportunity arrived, he would be reborn. Dong dong, the ethereal sound of a bell came from afar. The Fallen Star contest was about to begin. Clenching his right fist, Suyu looked at the mysterious inner sanctum, which was surrounded by countless stars. He said firmly, "Sien, wait for me." He would obtain the right to enter the inner sanctum and take Sienna away, never to be separated again. Whoosh! He left in a flash and headed toward the Fallen Star contest arena. This contest would be held on the cold star of the 17 fallen stars. Looking over, the sky was filled with figures. The outer sanctum disciples of the 17 fallen stars were all rushing toward the cold star. The annual Fallen Star contest had begun. Suyu flew over and landed in front of a magnificent arena that could hold 10,000 people. At the entrance, an elegant figure was waiting. There was a faint sense of loss on her face. Her lonely figure did not fit in with the bustling crowd. Although there were people stunned by her beauty, no one stopped for her. "Yunyan, are you waiting for someone?" Suyu came over and asked with concern. Yunyan looked up and forced a smile. "I'm waiting for Li Ji. My fiancé. I sent him a message yesterday." Suyu frowned slightly. The contest was about to begin. Once it began, the arena would be sealed and outsiders would not be allowed to enter. "Let's go, he won't come." Yunyan's eyes dimmed as she entered the arena with Suyu. Rumble. As the arena door closed, the contest officially began. In the arena, there were as many as 3,000 outer sanctum disciples. The weakest were at level 8 of the martial path, level 9, and even half holy kings. Suyu could also see many strong martial artists of the Holy King realm. In fact, he even discovered the existence of a second-level Holy King. Yunyan was a member of the family after all. She was well informed and knew the details. She explained to Suyu, "The Fallen Star contest is divided into 3 stages. The top 9 competition. Finally, the 9 dragons fight for the pearl. Whoever wins first place and causes the icy pearl to vibrate will be able to ascend to the heavens and become an inner sanctum disciple. They will enjoy endless resources and their future achievements will be limitless." Suyu nodded. 3,000 people would compete to determine the top 100. The top 100 would compete to determine the top 9. The final 9 would compete to determine the Outer Sanctum King. If the Outer Sanctum King could activate the Icy Pearl, he would become an Inner Sanctum disciple. This year's Fallen Star contest is filled with strong martial artists. The 3 heavenly kings of the Outer Sanctum are all second-level Holy Kings. Even the number 1, Zhao Wuxie, recently reached second-level peak Holy King. He is a once-in-a-century genius of the Outer Sanctum. Back then, he almost entered the Inner Sanctum. This year, he has a high chance of entering the Inner Sanctum. In addition, there will also be new inner disciples in the Fallen Star competition. They are the real geniuses compared to us, the bait. They will participate in the assessment together. For example, Sun Tianyang from the Sun family, who is ranked first among the 100 vassal clans, and Yuan Hu from the Yuan family, who is ranked second. They have already been accepted as elder disciples in advance and are inner disciples. They do not need to compete for the inner sanctum. The reason they are participating in the Fallen Star contest is because the faction is giving them a rare opportunity to hone their skills. Secondly, it is to provide a benchmark for the outer sanctum disciples to measure the gap between them and the inner sanctum. Su Yu understood. Yuan, who was the chubby youth who had accompanied Lu Guang to maintain order in the recruitment test. A 14-year-old second-level Holy King was impressive. That day, he had said that if Su Yu entered the Lucian faction, he would make sure that Su Yu would never be able to rise again. Su Yu had never thought that he would be competing with him at the Fallen Star contest. I hope that you won't run into me. Otherwise, you will be greatly surprised by the past ant, Su Yu muttered to himself. Dong, the bell rang. The Fallen Star contest would decide whether the 3,000 disciples would crawl in the outer sanctum or become dragons. The battle that would decide the fate of Su Yu and Xiener had finally begun. Many people said it was even shorter. 2 chapters of 6,000 words was equivalent to 3 chapters of many authors with 2,000 words. That was quite a lot of words. Chapter 118. Participating disciples, come forward to receive your number plates according to the ranking of the 100 vassal clans. The referee announced from the center of the arena. Yun Yen took a deep breath. She was a little nervous, helpless, and desolate. Slowly getting up, Yun Yen bid farewell to Su Yu, forcing a smile. I hope you can meet your fiancé and say hello for me. Feeling the sadness in Yun Yan's heart, Su Yu nodded. After the competition, regardless of the result, please wait for a moment. I have something to give you. Slightly stunned, Yun Yan's nervous heart relaxed a little. She smiled and gracefully left. Brother Su, it's our Li family's turn to draw a number plate. The 3 juniors of the Li family respectfully reminded Su Yu. Su Yu entered the Lucian faction using the Li family's name. Naturally, he would receive a number plate with them. Taking a light breath, Su Yu stepped forward to receive the number plate 111. The top 100 competition will now begin. 3,000 people will be divided into 100 teams according to the number plates you have received. The number plates will be distributed randomly. Su Yu was in the 10th group. The rules of the top 100 competition are that there will be a challenge within the group. If no one dares to challenge you, you will be the first in the group and advance to the top 100. This kind of rule was slightly unfair because there was an element of luck. If there was an extremely strong fighter in the group, such as the 3 heavenly kings of the outer sanctum, the rest of the strong fighters could only regret it and not make it into the top 100. The advantage was that it saved a lot of time. Group 1 challenge begins. Group 1, 30 people all prepared at the preparation stage. Whoosh! A proud youth flew onto the stage, smiling as he cupped his fists. Everyone, if there is anyone who does not accept me, Ling Feng, you can come forward and fight. Ling Feng, a first-level peak holy king. In the outer sanctum, he was second only to the 3 heavenly kings, ranked within the top 10. He naturally had the right to guard the stage. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the audience was silent, looking at him strangely. Ling Feng's heart skipped a beat, re-evaluating his group. Suddenly, a figure made his heart jump, his face ashen. The first king of the outer sanctum, Zhao Wuxie. Behind the crowd, a youth in his 20s sat quietly, wearing a plain green robe and an ordinary face. He had a peaceful temperament, giving people a sense of familiarity. Slowly opening his eyes, Zhao Wuxie smiled indifferently. This is a rare opportunity. You guys can learn from each other. I'll go on stage later. Ling Feng's face was pale. After a moment of silence, he cupped his hands and walked down the stage. I give up. In front of the number 1 heavenly king, Ling Feng didn't even have the will to fight. The difference between a second-level peak holy king and him was like the difference between heaven and earth. Even if Ling Feng were to exert his full strength, it would be difficult for him to even move a finger of his. The arena was silent for a moment, and no one went up again. They all revealed expressions of helplessness, bitterness, and sorrow. It was not easy for him to wait for the annual Fallen Star competition, but he encountered Zhao Wuxie. After a moment of silence, Zhao Wuxia sighed and slowly walked into the ring. Is there anyone willing to fight with me, Zhao Wuxia? All 29 people lowered their heads. The 3,000 people present lowered their heads in unison. A look of disappointment flashed in Zhao Wuxia's eyes. A trace of invincible loneliness lingered around his body. In the outer sect, he was a lonely king. Although 3,000 people were a lot, none of them were a match for them. During the referee's announcement, Zhao Wuxia walked down the ring dejectedly. The competition of the first group ended at an unimaginable speed. Zhao Wuxia, the first heavenly king of the outer sanctum, the supreme king looked up to by 3,000 people. He was also the outer sanctum disciple with the greatest hope of becoming an inner sanctum disciple within 100 years. The next few rounds of competition took up an hour each, and everyone had their own competition. Until the 5th round. In the 5th group, a person jumped out first. Is there anyone who wants to fight with me, Zhao Longyang? He was about 20 years old, dressed in a tight black robe. His skin was dark and his face was rough. He vaguely gave off a murderous aura. His cultivation had reached the frightening 2nd level upper tier, Holy King. He was the 2nd heavenly king of the outer sanctum, Zhao Longyang. At this moment, his grin was a little sinister. Below the ring, there was silence. Everyone in the group had a look of dread and even a trace of fear. They were in awe of Zhao Wuxia, but they were afraid of Zhao Longyang. This was because Zhao Longyang's attacks were quite ruthless. Those who fought with him would more or less be seriously injured. As a result, no one accepted the challenge. A bunch of trash. Zhao Longyang smiled contemptuously and walked down the ring. The referee announced Zhao Longyang's victory. It was another battle that ended extremely quickly. Then, the next round. A tall, arrogant 18-year-old youth leaped onto the arena. He was handsome and cold. He stood with his arms crossed, and his eyes were as cold as frost, giving people a chill. His cultivation had reached the frightening 2nd level lower tier, Holy King. This person was the 3rd heavenly king of the outer sanctum, Jiang Ming. Is there anyone who wants to fight with me? Below the ring, an unlucky 1st level peak Holy King went up. Zhao Lin, I am willing to fight with you. Zhao Lin was a rare female outer sanctum expert. After jumping into the ring, she immediately attacked. Golden flower finger. Zhao Lin's jade-like hand lightly pointed, and 5 golden lights shone on the whole arena. It was very dazzling. Many spectators closed their eyes. Zhao Lin was hidden in the golden light, and it was difficult to distinguish her figure. Whoosh! Suddenly, a white hand suddenly stretched out from the golden light and hit Jiang Ming's body. At this moment, Jiang Ming could not open his eyes under the dazzling golden light. This palm was silent, and Jiang Ming could not guard against it. However, a scream came from within the golden light. Zhao Lin's delicate body flew back as if she was electrocuted. Jiang Ming slowly withdrew his shoulder. Just now, Jiang Ming only shook his shoulder, and Zhao Lin was sent flying. Insignificant skills, and you dare to show off? Jiang Ming opened his eyes indifferently and said coldly. Who else? Jiang Ming scanned the audience, and no one continued to fight. It was another extremely fast battle. Many of the following group battles were remarkable, but not as amazing as this one. Even the 10th battle where Su Yu was. In this group, other than Su Yu, there was no Holy King. Flying into the ring, Su Yu released a trace of Holy King aura, and looked around at the 29 people. If there are any challengers, please hurry up and finish the battle quickly. He could not wait to fight the strongest person in the Fallen Star sect, enter the inner sanctum, and take Sienna away. The outer sanctum disciples in front of the ring all felt unfamiliar, and no one recognized this 14-year-old 1st level Holy King. Lu Bao will try. A half-Holy King jumped into the ring. He was about 25 years old, and his expression was fierce and full of murderous intent. Lu Bao? It is said that he has challenged a 1st level Holy King, and was not at a disadvantage. He hunts in the mountains all year round, and has rich combat experience. Many people who have just entered the Holy King realm find it difficult to deal with him. Slightly licking his lips, Lu Bao secretly pondered. If he could defeat this little Holy King, even if it would be difficult for him to fight his way into the top 9, he could still enter the top 100 in such a stunning manner. Ha! Lu Bao was like his name, simple and direct, fast and violent. In the blink of an eye, a punch landed on Su Yu's face. Seeing that Su Yu's movements were so slow, he was overjoyed. Sure enough, this was a junior who had not experienced actual combat and had used drugs to improve himself. However, Lu Bao's punch could not continue, because a strand of Su Yu's silver hair floated over and gently touched his fist. His fist instantly froze, then spread to his whole body, turning him into an ice sculpture. From beginning to end, Su Yu had not made a move. Is there anyone else? Su Yu indifferently glanced at the remaining 28 people. Below the ring, there was silence. The Holy Kings were indeed powerful. In this group, Su Yu had advanced to the top 100 without any suspense. A few people who had noticed the battle were envious and jealous, especially the first-level peak Holy Kings who had been defeated. What's so great about relying on luck? If it were me, why would I worry about not being able to fight my way into the top 100? Although Su Yu had ended the battle quickly, he did not win in a stunning manner. Instead, he felt even more disdain. The next 20 battles were uneventful. However, there were a few people who were luckier, which made the audience angry. Wu Pongyun's opponent was only a first-level lower-tier Holy King, and he was easily defeated. Yun Yan's situation was similar to Su Yu's. In her group, there was not a single Holy King. The competition for the top 100 began. The 3 Heavenly Kings led the way, and the 3 extremely lucky newcomers were also the focus of attention. The competition for the top 10 begins now. A total of 102 people will be randomly divided into 9 groups. The strongest person in each group will advance. The format of the competition is a 2-loss system. Everyone has the right to be defeated twice. If you lose once, you can continue to challenge another time. If you lose both times, you will be eliminated on the spot. Although this method was a bit of a waste of time, it was more fair. The eyes of those who had paid attention to Su Yu lit up, a playful smile on their lips. Looks like Su Yu and that Wu Pangyun have been put to good use. They were actually assigned to the same group as Jiang Ming of the 3 Heavenly Kings. Haha, that's good. How can a group of people with more luck have the qualifications to obtain the honor of the top 100? Kick them out as soon as possible to show the level and standards of the Fallen Star contest. Not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry can become famous. On the arena. The first battle, Jiang Ming vs. Wu Pangyun. The referee arranged the matches according to the cultivation level of the contestants. Hearing this, many of the audience could not help but laugh. The opening was a Heavenly King versus a lucky newcomer. Interesting. Wu Pangyun swallowed hard, secretly cursing his bad luck. He had thought he could still fight his way into the top 9, but in the top 100, he had encountered the 3 Heavenly Kings. Jiang Ming stood with his arms crossed, his eyes indifferent. He said arrogantly, "Make your move. Your luck has been exhausted." Clenching his teeth, Wu Pangyun suddenly made his move. Moon-breaking palm. The top-class deity-level cultivation technique, imbued with all the spiritual energy of a first-level upper-tier Holy King, was incomparably terrifying. Jiang Ming stood motionless, his eyes indifferent. His eyes did not reflect Wu Pangyun's figure at all. The look in his eyes at that moment was very subtle, exquisitely illustrating what it meant to be arrogant. Boom! Wu Pangyun's palm struck Jiang Ming's chest. However, it was as if Wu Pangyun had struck a boulder. Poof! The boundless recoil caused his internal organs to shake violently, causing him to vomit blood on the spot. Wu Pangyun defeated. The referee announced indifferently. There was ridicule in the audience seat. Finally showing your true colors? Even Zhao Lin was sent flying. It would be strange if he did not vomit blood after a few attacks. Amidst the ridicule, Wu Pangyun was ashamed. The second battle, Jiang Ming versus Su Yu. As he stepped down from the arena, Su Yu brushed past him and walked up to the arena. Because he was overly sensitive, coupled with the rift between the two, Wu Pangyun always felt that Su Yu had shown a mocking expression when he passed by him. Su Yu! Wu Pangyun shouted in embarrassment. He stopped in his tracks and stared at Su Yu's back. Su Yu calmly turned his head. What's the matter? Seeing Wu Pangyun stare, Su Yu felt inexplicable. How had he provoked Wu Pangyun? Su Yu, don't be complacent. You and I are of equal strength. If I lose, how much better can you be? Humiliating me now, aren't you afraid of being humiliated by others later? Wu Pangyun said angrily. Su Yu was slightly stunned, but immediately understood Wu Pangyun's current state of mind. He curled his lips and squeezed out a mocking smile. Useless! If you want my mockery, I'll grant it to you. Su Yu pretended to be helpless and turned to walk up the arena. You! Wu Pangyun's face turned green and then red. Good. Let me see how you deal with this later. Jiang Ming stood proudly. His eyes were still condescending and did not see Su Yu. Another lucky junior. Jiang Ming sighed softly. There was helplessness and shame in his heart. You are not worthy to fight me, but this is the arena, so I can only reluctantly do it. A trace of deep disgust condensed on his face. So, make your move. Finish the battle quickly. It seemed that people like Su Yu, who relied on luck to get here, would make him feel disgusted even if they were in the same arena. Finish the battle quickly? Good. That's exactly what I intend to do. Su Yu's gaze was calm. So please make your move. Otherwise, you won't even have the chance to. Chapter 119. Everyone was startled. He had never expected that Su Yu would say such a thing. A layer of frost gradually formed in Jiang Ming's condescending eyes. You've said what I should have said. Only Jiang Ming, the heavenly king of the outside sanctum, was qualified to say such words to Su Yu. I do not want to repeat the same words a second time. Let's end this quickly. Please make your move. Su Yu was anxious. There were only 3 days left before Xian'er was to get married. His heart was full of anxiety. Jiang Ming was furious. Presumptuous! Waves without wind. It was a top-class deity-level technique. Iron Wolf 8 trigrams palm. It was a top-class deity-level technique. 2 types of deity-level techniques were superimposed on one body. With the terrifying spirit energy of a second-level lower-tier Holy King, its power soared. Whoosh! Jiang Ming's figure suddenly disappeared from where he stood. When he flashed again, he was already within 3 meters of Su Yu, appearing with the momentum of a flying pounce. With a face full of disgust and anger, Jiang Ming struck with both palms. There is a price for boasting shamelessly. Get lost. Boom! Zhao Lin and Wu Pangyun were sent flying as soon as they touched him. Now that Jiang Ming was going all out, how terrifying would his power be? The wind whistled and the sound of breaking air reverberated. A fierce punch was aimed at Su Yu's chest. However, Su Yu's eyes were calm as he calmly struck out with his palm. A purple lotus, beautiful and enchanting, quietly rotated. However, the inconspicuous purple lotus, after the bombardment, shook the heavens. Boom! The boundless blast was like a landslide. The sound shook the heavens, stirring the clouds of the 9 heavens. Dust filled the sky, surging in all directions. It was deafening and horrifying. Everyone was quietly waiting for a good show. The expression of the person who had a mocking smile on his face suddenly changed. He was bewildered. When the dust dissipated, the audience was even more stunned to find that there was only a faint silver-haired figure in purple on the arena. Jiang Ming, one of the 3 heavenly kings of the outside sanctum, had disappeared into thin air. However, they did not see that Jiang Ming had been sent flying out of the arena with one blow. Where did Jiang Ming go? While the crowd was bewildered, they suddenly saw a black object falling from the sky and smashing onto the stage with a loud bang. Looking over, it was Jiang Ming, who had fainted on the spot with his mouth full of blood. His face was still frozen in shock from the moment they exchanged blows. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a cold breath. That strike just now had actually sent Jiang Ming flying into the sky with a single palm strike. In fact, Jiang Ming hadn't fainted when he fell, but had fainted when he received the palm strike. The whole place was silent. Jiang Ming, one of the 3 heavenly kings, was utterly defeated? Moreover, he had lost to Su Yu, the extremely lucky first-level holy king? Legacy cultivation method. He cultivates an inherited cultivation technique. Finally, a shrewd and ruthless person revealed the shocking news with a trembling voice. What? A rookie actually possessed an inherited cultivation technique? Even the outer sex 3 heavenly kings don't have the right to cultivate it? Oh right. I remember that in this recruitment test, the first place seems to be able to enter the sutra depository and flip through the manuals. Could it be that he saw it then? Impossible. Within the scripture depository, there are lightning-type techniques hidden deep within the pavilion. How could he possibly reach that step? Everyone was shocked until the referee announced Su Yu's victory. Wu Pongyun's face turned pale. Staring at Su Yu, his eyes were filled with fear. When did he become so powerful? Thinking back, he was confident that his abilities were on par with Su Yu. He could not help but blush. There was another person in the audience that Su Yu knew. Chao Xian, a terrifying Dragon Realm martial artist, the supreme existence among the inner sanctum disciples of the Lucian faction. He was originally too lazy to watch the battle, but upon hearing the commotion in the arena, he began to observe. However, with one look, his pupils shrank. Xunyue Islands. Li Guang's disciple? Chao Xian had long forgotten about Su Yu, even his name. In his memory, Li Guang's disciple, although powerful, was a worthless spirit. However, he had suddenly appeared in the Lucian faction today, breaking through the shackles of the martial path, and becoming a holy king. To be able to break through to the holy king meant that he could absorb spirit energy and was a spirit. However, why was he a worthless spirit during the test? Chao Xian was slightly taken aback, then his eyes gradually narrowed. Li Guang, it seems like you really did cultivate a disciple. Su Yu became famous in one battle. Within the group, there was no one who could match him. This time, obtaining first place in the group was justifiable, and there was no one to dispute it. Defeating one of the 3 heavenly kings with one palm was enough to show that Su Yu's strength was extraordinary. The rest of the group battles gradually came to an end. In Yunyan's group, there was a first-level upper-tier holy king, but she was defeated. According to the second elder's request, she could not obtain the qualifications to enter the inner sanctum, losing the chance to stay in the faction, and the chance to find a legacy-level technique for her family. Yunyan quietly left the arena on the verge of tears. For the rest of her life, she would gradually become an ordinary person, passing the rest of her life in a hurry. Her beautiful eyes gazed at the purple figure who was like an invincible god of war. Yunyan's sorrow deepened. Why can't I be the same as him? Yunyan clenched her fists, her heart filled with dissatisfaction. Returning to the audience, she was silent, her heart filled with grief. The top 9 strongholds were finally decided. Su Yu, a new talent from the outer sanctum, had not even spent a day in the outer sanctum, but he had already entered the top 9, dazzling and stunning. The top 9 stood side by side. The remaining 8 were more or less paying attention to the dark horse, Su Yu. The first heavenly king, Zhao Wuxie, revealed his fighting spirit. Having a legacy-level technique is indeed extraordinary, able to fight beyond his level. But then his gaze turned and fell on the person beside him. his fighting spirit burning like the sun. Unfortunately, Sun Tianyang is my true opponent. Among the new disciples from the inner sanctum, Sun Tianyang and Yuan, who had joined during the top 100 competition and naturally entered the top 9. Sun Tianyang's abilities had reached second-level peak Holy King, and he was also an inner sanctum disciple. Although he had only been in the faction for a month, he had received guidance from the Great Elder, and his abilities were a mystery. After all, the Great Elder was ranked first among the 10 Great Elders, and the disciples he taught were extraordinary. In fact, the only new elder in the faction in the past 100 years, Elder Hanji, was once the disciple of the Great Elder. Now, another Sun Tianyang had appeared, and his potential was definitely extraordinary. The short and fat Yuan who, with dark skin, wore a surprised expression. Back then, in his eyes, Suyu was only at level 9 peak of the martial path, not even half a Holy King. In such a short time, he had actually reached the Holy King realm. Even Jiang Ming, who had been defeated by Suyu, was comparable to Yuan who, a second-level lower-tier Holy King. The second of the 3 heavenly kings, Zhao Longyang, had a mocking expression. "Senior Yuan, it seems you are in trouble. Suyu's abilities are not weak." Yuan whose fat face suddenly turned cold. "How can trash like Jiang Ming be compared to me, an inner sanctum disciple? Who is Suyu? I alone can suppress him." Also, Yuan who turned his head, his eyes filled with contempt. "You, an outer sanctum disciple, do not have the right to call me senior. Please do not speak to me, lest I be mistaken for an outer sanctum disciple." Zhao Longyang's smile froze, his face flushed red. He was in his 20s, and had entered the faction for more than 5 years. Yuan who was only 14 years old, and had just entered the faction. Calling him senior, Zhao Longyang was indeed humble, and was trying to curry favor with him. Unexpectedly, Yuan who was so arrogant. He did not give him any face, exposing him in public. Suppressing his anger, Zhao Longyang grinned. "I want to see how long you, an inner sanctum disciple, can last against Suyu." Humph! Although he did not have Yuan whose talent, his many years of cultivation made his judgment very good. When Suyu fought Jiang Ming, he seemed to be holding back. The 9 dragons fight for the pearl officially begins. The ultimate arena, open. The referee announced, pressing a certain mechanism. Walala! The arena shook with a loud bang. The arena was split into 2, moving to both sides, as if a manhole cover had been opened. Creak! A horrifying cold energy gushed out. The entire arena, which had 10,000 people, instantly froze several degrees. Looking over, below the arena was a pool of emerald water. The pool water was a deep green, like a bamboo in spring, and also like a bay of emerald pearls. However, for some reason, the pool water was bone-chilling cold. Threads of cold energy condensed the water vapor in the air, producing a white cold mist that floated around the arena. In the blink of an eye, the arena was like a fairyland on earth, surrounded by celestial mist. In addition to the cooldown, the audience could clearly feel that the spiritual energy in the arena was more than twice as thick as usual. Amidst their excitement, everyone seized the time to cultivate in public. The 9 dragons fight for the pearl. The icy azure lake has opened. Is it finally here? I've been watching the matches for this moment. A lower-tier Holy King greedily absorbed the dense spiritual energy. It would be great if I could participate in the 9 dragons fight for the pearl one day. It is said that above the icy azure lake, the spiritual energy is even denser, 10 times that of the outside world. 1 day of cultivation here is equivalent to 10 days in the outside world. Many people had participated in the matches, waiting for this moment. Suyu stood around the icy azure lake, immediately feeling the dense spiritual energy assaulting him, more than 3 times that of the outside world. And the closer he got to the surface of the icy azure lake, the denser the spiritual energy. Wouldn't the spiritual energy be even denser under the icy azure lake? On the surface of the bottomless icy lake, there were 3 man-made bridges. The 3 bridges were constructed from top to bottom. The closer they got to the water, the denser the spiritual energy. Participants, after discussing with your opponents, you can choose the bridge that suits you. Remember to act within your abilities. The cold below is extremely dense. Those with lower cultivation levels might freeze to death. Also, if you accidentally fall into the lake, you will definitely die. Therefore, you must choose carefully, especially the lowest bridge. If you fall too close to the lake, the faction will not be able to rescue you in time. There are already many corpses of disciples at the bottom of the lake that have yet to be salvaged. Take care. The 9 dragons fight for the pearl begins. First match, Inner Sanctum Yuan Hu vs Outer Sanctum Lin Hao. Lin Hao, a second-level lower-tier Holy King, was the strongest in the Outer Sanctum besides the 3 Heavenly Kings. His abilities were only slightly weaker than Jiang Ming's. Whoosh, out of caution, the 2 chose to fight on the first bridge. The spiritual energy there was 4 times that of the outside world. Absorbing spiritual energy during a battle was more effective. Make your move. Yuan Hu stood with his arms crossed, his eyes filled with contempt. Lin Hao was in his 20s, but facing Yuan Hu gave him a lot of pressure. How strong were the people from the inner sanctum at the same cultivation level? Wolf's Claw. Lin Hao let out a low growl, all his spiritual energy imbued into his technique. His figure was like a wolf galloping, his palms turning into claws. A cold light appeared in the claws, like an icy blade. Creak, as the claws struck, the air exploded with a creaking sound, as if it was about to be torn apart. Only when the claws were right in front of him did Yuan Hu finally make his move. Insignificant skill. Yuan Hu coldly rebuked, suddenly raising his leg. Dragon tail whip. Crackle. His leg was like a swimming dragon swinging its tail, leaving behind a series of afterimages. The air trembled, the sound of air vibrating. There was also a terrifying aura that filled the air. Crack, a horrible shriek could be heard. Lin Hao's fingers were broken, blood splattering everywhere. His figure swayed, almost falling off the bridge. Lin Hao defeated. The referee announced. He had defeated Lin Hao with 1 move. The difference between the inner sanctum and the outer sanctum was so great. Anyone with a discerning eye would be able to see that the dragon tail whip actually had some traces of an inherited cultivation technique. Without a doubt, Yuan Hu was cultivating a legacy-level cultivation technique and had come into contact with some of its true essence. Even if he stayed in the outer sanctum for 10 years, he would not have the chance to come into contact with a legacy-level cultivation technique. Yuan Hu had only been in the inner sanctum for a month and could come into contact with it. The difference in treatment was so despairing. Next match, Yuan Hu vs Su Yu. The referee quickly announced. Su Yu flew across the bridge, the thick spirit energy assaulting him, mixed with a weak chill, making him feel comfortable. Yuan Hu stood with his arms crossed sneering, to think that the little ant from back then would be able to stand in front of me. Make your move, my time is tight. Su Yu ignored him, his gaze calm as he spoke leisurely. A hint of anger flickered across Yuan Hu's face, his anger soaring. Humph! The difference between a genius and an ant is that I am in the inner sanctum, while you are still struggling in the outer sanctum. Even if you improve by leaps and bounds, you are still a pitiful worm beneath my feet. Su Yu's gaze turned cold. Noisy. If you do not dare to fight, scram immediately. You are not worthy of my time. Every second he fought for was one more hope of taking Sienna away. Yuan Hu was furious. Fine. Since you are seeking death, don't blame me for not giving you a chance. An ant will always be an ant, even if you stand up, you still have to look up to me. Dragon Tail Whip. Chapter 120. Afterimages appeared one after another as the air vibrated. The powerful spirit energy of a second-level Holy King was infused into the legacy-level technique. Its power was unimaginable. The strong wind messed up Su Yu's long hair, but it could not mess up his cold gaze. Feast of ice and thunder. Unexpectedly, Su Yu did not use the more powerful Purple Star Thunderbolt. Instead, he used the slightly weaker Holy Decree. However, weaker was relative. Now that he was infused with spirit energy, its power had reached a new level. The alternating purple and white beam of light shot forward, as if it could destroy the world. Bang, boom, thud, thud, thud. In the violent collision, the two elements of ice and thunder covered his right leg, extremely destructive. His dragon tail whip was instantly pushed back. The pain caused his right leg to tremble. Yuan Hu staggered back a few steps, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. What kind of holy decree is that? The power of a saint-grade holy decree could never reach such a level. Su Yu's holy decree had long surpassed saint-grade top class, and was evolving to a whole new level. Just as Li Guang had said, Su Yu's holy decree was different from the rest. It had a rhythm that he could not understand. With a little more practice, it would definitely be amazing. Why, an inner sanctum like you tremble in front of an ant like me? Su Yu said leisurely. Giving up on the stronger Purple Star Thunderbolt, a slightly weaker Holy Decree was enough to defeat Yuan Hu. To Yuan Hu, it was tantamount to mockery. Yuan Hu's expression alternated between red and green as he secretly glanced at the audience. Their gazes were all filled with mockery. Previously, Yuan Hu had looked down on everyone, calling them an ant. But now, he had been easily defeated by an ant. The contrast was laughable. Especially Zhao Longyang, who had a mocking smile on his face. Since he was in the inner sanctum, he had looked down on everyone. Now, he had finally suffered a setback. Su Yu, don't be so arrogant. Again. Yuan Hu's heart burned with anger as he attacked. With his right leg injured, he could only use the deity-level cultivation technique to instill spirit energy. Iron Head Strike. With a low roar, Yuan Hu's fat body slightly bent down. His head was filled with spirit energy as he turned into a bison, charging forward. His legs exerted force as his entire body shot forward at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Su Yu. With the speed of a first-level Holy King, there was no way he could dodge. Whoosh! However, Yuan Hu missed. He staggered and fell to the ground on the spot. The audience was bewildered. Look, what was that? What beautiful wings! It's like an ice sculpture, but also like a ball of crystal light. A young girl's eyes rippled with extraordinary splendor. Everyone looked over. Su Yu had unfurled a pair of wings made of ice light, flapping them quietly. Under the sunlight, a series of colorful rainbows could be seen. From afar, it seemed like Su Yu was draped in 7 colored wings. Coupled with his handsome face, noble and mysterious silver hair, as well as his fluttering purple clothes, he was truly noble beyond words. He seemed like a legendary deity. The eyes of many women glowed as they fixed their eyes on the pair of wings and the owner of the wings, and they were full of praise. Only the experienced and steady male disciple could see the crux of the problem. He exclaimed in surprise, "What a fast speed! It has already surpassed the first-level Holy King and reached the second-level Holy King level. Where did that pair of wings come from? Could it be a remnant of a legacy cultivation technique?" Someone was bewildered. One person has 2 incomplete cultivation technique manuals? Where did Su Yu come from? Even some inner sanctum disciples might not be able to have 2 legacy cultivation techniques. Boom! At this moment, Su Yu floated down, his foot landing on Yuan Hu's chest. Puff! The force of the impact caused Yuan Hu to spit out a mouthful of blood. A pair of cold eyes looked down on him from above. "The ant in your eyes is not even qualified to look up to me. Put away your so-called arrogance," Su Yu said indifferently. He tapped the tip of his toes and pulled Yuan Hu out of the bridge. Su Yu wins. The referee announced the result of the match. The audience was silent. The newly promoted inner sanctum disciple Yuan, who had been defeated by the newly promoted outer sanctum disciple, Su Yu. The two of them were of similar ages, had entered the faction at the same time, participated in the faction's official competition, and had clashed on the arena at the same time. But the result was unexpected. Yuan Hu from the inner sanctum was no match for Su Yu from the outer sanctum. Yuan Hu, who had called him an ant, had been stepped on by Su Yu, who was just an ant in his eyes. Chao Xian, who had been quietly watching, flew over to check on Yuan Hu's injuries. His gaze fell on Su Yu, slightly cold. "Very well. I misjudged you that day. You are stronger than Lu Guang." Chao Xian's gaze was cold. Su Yu shot a cold glare at him. Was Xiener forced to marry him? "You have always lacked foresight. You look at people this way, and offend them the same way." Su Yu's gaze was cold. Chao Xian grabbed Yuan Hu, getting up to leave. Hearing this, he turned back and laughed coldly. "Wait until you have the right to enter the inner sanctum, then talk to me. Right now, any chance to talk to you is my charity." Whoosh, he left in a flash, leaving behind the echoing words of disdain. As a powerful dragon realm disciple of the inner sanctum, Chao Xian was elusive. Indeed, not everyone had the right to talk to him. At least for now, in the eyes of outsiders, Su Yu did not have the right to talk to Chao Xian. Zhao Wuxia stood with his arms crossed, looking at Su Yu with admiration. "You have 2 legacy cultivation techniques, and your holy decree has transcended a certain level. You are a decent opponent. Unfortunately, my strongest opponent this year is Sun Tianyang." Saying this, his gaze suddenly shot toward Sun Tianyang. Sun Tianyang was Zhao Wuxia's true opponent. Although Su Yu was strong, he was still a level lower than Sun Tianyang. The next battle, Zhao Wuxia versus Zhao Longyang. The audience was excited. The 3 heavenly kings of the outer sanctum, the first heavenly king Zhao Wuxia and the second heavenly king Zhao Longyang, were they finally going to clash? Whoosh, the two flew to the second bridge. The spirit energy here was 6 times that of the outside world. Zhao Wuxia stood with his hands behind his back, lightly nodding. "We have not fought for a year. I do not know how much progress you have made. Feel free to fight, I can give you some pointers." His words were filled with arrogance. If an ordinary person heard this, they would have felt it to be harsh and looked down upon. Not to mention the arrogant Zhao Longyang. However, what was surprising was that a person like Zhao Longyang had completely restrained the murderous aura on his rough face. He respectfully cupped his fists in gratitude. "Thank you, big brother Wuxia. Please do not hesitate to give me pointers." The audience of the outer sanctum did not feel that Zhao Wuxia was being arrogant. In the outer sanctum, Zhao Wuxia was an invincible legend. Many people thought that Zhao Wuxia being relegated to the outer sanctum was a waste of talent. His perception and aptitude were not bad. He was only a step away from the inner sanctum standard. Regardless of strength or character, Zhao Wuxia was a respected existence in the outer sanctum. Cloud-splitting shadowless hand. Zhao Longyang made his move. His hands circled and crossed. The speed was extremely fast, like the violent flapping of wings. The audience clearly saw Zhao Longyang turn his wrist, but they could not see the shadow of his palm. They could only feel a majestic and frightening power condensed in the shadowless palm, as if there was a majestic aura that could peel away the clouds to see the moon. Bang! The shadow of the palm attacked. Zhao Wuxia put one hand behind his back and only extended one hand to fight with Zhao Longyang. Boom! Crackle! Zhao Wuxia had clearly played it down and had not even used his technique. However, he easily resolved Zhao Longyang's move. The audience even saw that Zhao Longyang was extremely strained, and there were signs of him being defeated. Finally, after 10 moves, Zhao Longyang was easily defeated by Zhao Wuxia's palm. Zhao Longyang smiled bitterly. "Last year I lost to brother Wuxia within 10 moves, and this year it's still the same." Gently shaking his head, Zhao Wuxia said, Your palm technique is skillful and extremely skilled. The cloud-splitting shadowless hand has reached its peak. Compared to last year, you have made great progress. Your weakness is that your body is stiff, and your body changes. You are unable to move freely with the power of the palm, which causes your body to advance and retreat. Zhao Longyang was enlightened and gratefully bowed. Thank you, Brother Wuxie. The outer sanctum disciples were envious of Zhao Wuxie's personal guidance. After next year, Zhao Longyang's strength would rise to another level. Next battle, Zhao Longyang against Su Yu. Whoosh! Su Yu spread his icy divine wings and floated down to the second bridge. He felt the spiritual energy 6 times that of the outside world, as well as the powerful chill, which was exceptionally comfortable. What made him slightly happy was that the bottleneck of his cultivation base was slightly shaken, as if he could break through the next moment. The spiritual energy here was infinitely beneficial to someone like Su Yu, who was about to break through. Zhao Longyang grinned, a murderous look on his rough face. Although I am very grateful to you for teaching Yuan Hu, that arrogant trash, a lesson for me, I will not go easy on you. A fair battle, there is no need for you to go easy on me, Su Yu calmly said. Zhao Longyang, a second-level upper-tier holy king, was the opponent with the highest cultivation base Su Yu had ever encountered. Zhao Longyang took a few deep breaths to calm his boiling blood from the previous battle. A pair of fierce eyes sized up Su Yu, a mocking smile on his face. You seem to be very confident. You must have overcome many obstacles and fought those of a higher cultivation base, which gave you a lot of confidence. Su Yu closed his eyes and quietly waited for Zhao Longyang to have rested enough. Not getting a response, Zhao Longyang's murderous look flickered, and he grinned, revealing a row of white teeth. You can't be underestimating me because you think I lost to Zhao Wuxie, right? Su Yu closed his eyes. Just giving you enough time to rest would be an unfair victory. An unfair victory? Haha, you really think so highly of yourself. Zhao Longyang laughed angrily. Let's start the battle. My energy consumption is small, negligible. Let me see where your confidence comes from. Zhao Longyang sneered in his heart. He could feel that Su Yu had held back against Jiang Ming, but exposed against Yuan Hu. 2 deity-level cultivation techniques were indeed amazing. Unfortunately, it was only SOSO. Su Yu was destined to be defeated by him, with the absolute suppression of their cultivation levels. Su Yu nodded. If that's the case, please make your move. Good. Let's see where your arrogance comes from. Zhao Longyang growled. Cloud-splitting shadowless hand. After receiving Zhao Wuxie's guidance, Zhao Longyang paid attention to the shortcomings of his body, and his attacks became smoother. As if dispelling the clouds to reveal the moon, an impenetrable shadowless palm attacked Su Yu. Su Yu's eyes were calm as he made his move. It's not that I'm arrogant, but you are indeed no match for me. I only need one move to defeat you, Su Yu calmly said. A purple lotus quietly revolved around his palm. It was beautiful and delicate, enchanting and charming. Purple Star Thunderbolt, Su Yu whispered. It was the same move, but the destructive power it contained was far greater than when he fought Jiang Ming. Its power had increased by about 30%. The bursting thunder flame and the aura of destruction caused the sneering Zhao Longyang to change his expression. However, it was too late to dodge again. Boom! An unprecedentedly loud roar shook the 10,000-man arena. Purple lightning filled the sky and the earth. An unprecedented amount of dust flew wildly in all directions. Chapter 121. Smoke and dust filled the sky, covering the sun. It was hard to look at the situation within the smoke and dust. Putong! A muffled thud came from above the cold pond. At this moment, the smoke and dust gradually dissipated, and the world gradually became clear. A scene that shocked everyone appeared. Zhao Longyang's clothes were tattered, and his whole body was covered with blood stains. He fell to the ground, half unconscious. A second-level upper-tier Holy King was also defeated by Su Yu? Astonishment, shock and disbelief flashed across their faces. A first-level upper-tier Holy King defeated a second-level upper-tier Holy King in one move? He had crossed an entire class. Just how strong was Su Yu? Everyone stared at the silver-haired, purple-robed figure, and they all felt as if they were looking at an invincible god of war. Along the way, Su Yu was amazed. In Zhao Wuxia's eyes there was a hint of fighting spirit. He smiled and nodded. Not bad. After the Fallen Star competition, I look forward to fighting with you. Although Su Yu was strong, he was still not qualified to surpass Sun Tianyang. In this battle, Sun Tianyang was the strongest enemy. Turning his head, he saw a 15-year-old young man standing beside him. He was slightly older than Su Yu, with a thin body and a long and narrow face. He was clearly a teenager, but his eyes were deeply sunken and his hooked nose gave him a sinister temperament that didn't match his age. A pair of cold eyes sized up Su Yu apathetically. After a moment, he retracted his gaze and commented in a hoarse voice, "Your overall abilities rely on powerful techniques and lack of self-training. Your achievements are limited and can only be considered average." Zhao Wuxia was surprised. Su Yu was considered average? No matter if it was his movement technique or attack, they were all above the first rate, and when combined together, he'd attained the standard of surmounting realms to fight. How could he be described with the word ordinary? But soon after, he felt relieved. Sun Tianyang was the Great Elder's disciple, while Yuan Hu was the 10th Elder's disciple. The Great Elder was the teacher of the 10 Elders. According to seniority, Sun Tianyang was on the same level as the 10th Elder and was Yuan Hu's martial uncle. It was no wonder that Sun Tianyang intentionally belittled him. With prejudice, it was naturally difficult for him to give a fair evaluation. Next battle, Zhao Wuxia vs. Sun Tianyang. Zhao Wuxia's body shook, and his eyes revealed a strong desire to fight. He laughed heartily, "Haha, good! Sun Tianyang, I can finally fight with you. Let me experience just how strong you, an inner disciple, are." His words were filled with battle intent, as well as the indignation of being wronged by the inner disciples. They were both second-level peak Holy Kings, so what was the difference between Zhao Wuxia and them? Sun Tianyang looked at him indifferently and said calmly, "A meaningless competition. If it weren't for Master's order, I wouldn't have participated." "Why?" Zhao Wuxia heard the helplessness in his voice and was not convinced. Sun Tianyang answered briefly and hoarsely, "Because there's no opponent." Zhao Wuxia was clearly in front of him, but Sun Tianyang's gaze seemed to penetrate him. He could see the clouds in the sky, but he could not see the person in front of him. That kind of arrogance that disregarded everything and the powerful and invincible conceit stirred Zhao Wuxia's calm state of mind. Clenching his fists, Zhao Wuxia's mind was in turmoil. He took a few deep breaths before he calmed down. He smiled and said, "Since you're already here, I'll take things as they come. Do whatever you want, I'll keep you company." Sun Tianyang was slightly startled. After a while, he slowly nodded his head. "Anything? All right, I'll make my move then." Picking the stars and observing the moon, Sun Tianyang stood with one hand behind his back and calmly extended a finger. The tip of his finger was surrounded by a faint light, like the stars in the night sky. It was as if there were 10,000 stars in the sky. The starry sky was resplendent. It was like the finger of the heavens plucking the stars. His momentum was like a rainbow, stunning the starry sky. Zhao Wuxia's expression froze. For the first time, he made a move. Dragon-fish illusion ocean. His palms drifted in front of his chest, drawing a Pisces Tai Chi diagram in the air. The palm force was unpredictable and complemented each other, combining strength and softness. Boom! One finger and two palms suddenly collided. Crack! The crisp sound of jade being torn apart was clear to the ears. Violent waves of energy filled all directions, no weaker than the power of Su Yu's purple star thunderbolt. Separated by 10 meters, the blue water boiled and rippled amidst the battle. Zhao Wuxia was shocked. Even with his full strength, it was still somewhat strenuous. This scene, how similar was it to the time when he fought against Zhao Longyang? Only, the situation was reversed. In front of Sun Tianyang, he was in front of Zhao Longyang. That unparalleled sense of oppression made it difficult for him to breathe. As expected of the deity-level cultivation technique of the number 1 family of the 100 vassal clans, the power of picking the stars and watching the moon is comparable to a true legacy-level cultivation technique. In an inconspicuous corner of the spectator seats, several young men and women in their 20s wearing the drifting cloud emblem quietly watched. The drifting cloud emblem could only be worn by inner sanctum disciples. The person who spoke was a 7th-level holy king. He was only 1 step away from the legendary dragon realm. Beside this person stood a woman. Her figure was graceful and her face was beautiful, but her temperament was cold, filled with an indifference that repelled people thousands of miles away. Hearing this, the ice beauty lightly shook her head. No matter how powerful a deity-level cultivation technique is, it cannot surpass the restrictions of a mortal-level cultivation technique. It is impossible to reach the power of a legacy-level cultivation technique. It should be said that the great elder's disciple has an extraordinary level of comprehension. He has integrated his comprehension of the holy decree into the deity-level cultivation technique. Senior Sister Mo Wu's eyes are like a torch. I have heard rumors that Sun Tianyang's level of comprehension is extraordinary. Just now, he was valued by the great elder. It is said that he has already started to practice a true legacy-level cultivation technique. The junior sister at the side was unusually respectful towards the Ice Beauty. The Ice Beauty's eyes were filled with worry. The great elder and the 10th elder, 1 teacher and 1 disciple, occupy 2 seats in the top 10 factions of the faction. The disciples they accept are all extraordinary. If this goes on, one day the Lucian faction will definitely change its surname. Zhao Wuxia was shocked. Only when he faced Sun Tianyang did he realize how big the gap between them was. After fighting for a while, Sun Tianyang sighed in disappointment. This is indeed a meaningless competition. Let's end it here. With a flip of his palm, a dazzling power of picking the stars suddenly attacked. Zhao Wuxia's Tai Chi twin fish diagram suddenly shattered. A finger landed on his chest. It was clearly a simple finger, but it was like a giant ship colliding, sending him flying out of the icy azure lake. The whole place was silent. They were both 2nd-level peak holy kings, but the gap was so big. Everyone stared at Sun Tianyang, their gazes filled with deep shock. This was this batch's strongest new inner sanctum disciple, Sun Tianyang. With 1 finger, he had subdued everyone in the outer sanctum. Calmly withdrawing his finger, Sun Tianyang expressionlessly strode away. The referee lightly swallowed. Sun Tianyang wins. The last match, Sun Tianyang vs Su Yu. The referee immediately announced. Unexpectedly, Sun Tianyang did not seem to hear and strode away. The referee did not dare offend Sun Tianyang and politely reminded him, Sun Tianyang, the competition is not over, please return to the icy lake. Sun Tianyang did not turn his head and left with his hands behind his back. A meaningless competition, there is no need to continue. But, the referee broke out in a cold sweat. As expected of the great elder's disciple, his arrogance was incomparable to ordinary people. Sun Tianyang actually dared to walk away from such a solemn faction meet. After this, no one would dare to hold him accountable. Whoosh, a piercing sound pierced through the silent arena. A silver-haired figure in purple landed on the 3rd bridge without hesitation. What a dense spirit energy! Su Yu lightly exhaled. The bottleneck of his cultivation base shook even more violently, showing signs of a breakthrough. The spirit energy was 10 times that of the outside world, as well as the coldness, made Su Yu feel like a fish in water. Unfortunately, my opponent ran away. I have an unfair advantage, Su Yu calmly said. The voice drifted leisurely from the surface of the icy lake. Sun Tianyang stopped in his tracks. Without turning his head, he coldly said, "You did not run away. You lack the right for me to fight. Not fighting means running away. What excuse do you have? Referee, please announce quickly." Su Yu felt a little regretful. The spirit energy here was so dense that it would be difficult to encounter it again in the future. Unfortunately, the competition had ended and he could not stay any longer. The referee nodded slightly. Su Yu whoosh. A wave of energy swept out from the front of the referee. Fast as light, difficult to capture, he flew into the third bridge of the icy lake. A hoarse shout reverberated above the icy lake. Disgusting noise. Whoosh! Sun Tianyang stood opposite Su Yu with his hands behind his back. His sinister eyes were filled with annoyance. Even though a fly is small, if I do not kill it, it will be extremely annoying. Attack. Finish the battle quickly. You have 2 chances to attack. Sun Tianyang coldly shouted. Up until now, Su Yu had displayed 2 extremely powerful techniques. If Su Yu was given 2 chances, he would definitely defeat Sun Tianyang. Otherwise, to the arrogant Sun Tianyang, it would be an unfair advantage if Su Yu did not even have the chance to attack. Su Yu's heart was calm, unperturbed. All right. Finish the battle quickly. Without further ado, Su Yu attacked decisively. Ice and Thunder Feast. Su Yu's fingertips glowed purple. The icy light and thunder flames merged into one. It turned into a beam of purple and white light, like a divine light that could destroy the world. Rumble. The beam of light was extremely fast, heading straight for Sun Tianyang's chest. But Sun Tianyang stood with one hand behind his back. He merely extended his palm and grabbed. Creak. The destructive and powerful beam of light was destroyed by a palm. Insignificant skill. What else do you have? Quickly use it. Sun Tianyang did not even lift his eyelids as he coldly scolded. But before he could finish his sentence, a purple lotus spun and attacked. Purple Star Thunderbolt had long since followed the Ice and Thunder Feast. Sun Tianyang was caught off guard. He took a step back and extended his finger, moon and stars plucking. Puff, puff, puff. The continuous starlight actually caused several holes to appear on the purple lightning lotus. When it exploded, its power was only 1/10 of its original. A ball of thunder flames exploded, extinguished by Sun Tianyang's palm. This was the first time someone had countered the Purple Star Thunderbolt in such a manner. The audience felt their scalps go numb. Sun Tianyang was abnormally strong. He was simply abnormal. 2 moves have passed. You are merely SOSO. Now I will send you on your way. Sun Tianyang said coldly. His figure flashed as he charged toward Su Yu. With its unstoppable, terrifying power, Su Yu had used up all of his martial technique. There was no suspense. But Su Yu's eyes under his silver hair were as calm as autumn and winter water, without the slightest ripple. The corners of Su Yu's mouth curled into a smile, and he laughed calmly. Who told you that I only have the power for 2 moves? The crowd did not understand. Could it be that Su Yu still had more tricks up his sleeves? Sun Tianyang's brows twitched. He suddenly had a bad feeling. Su Yu calmly smiled, his finger suddenly pulling. Creak. The sound of air exploding suddenly came from all directions around Sun Tianyang. Crystal threads that were hard to see with the naked eye had already surrounded Sun Tianyang. With a flick of Su Yu's wrist, the boundless divine ice threads were like a giant net, wrapping around Sun Tianyang. Suddenly feeling his body being wrapped up, Sun Tianyang's vulture eyes showed panic for the first time. He coldly shouted, "That purple lotus just now was just a bait?" Indeed, the Ice and Thunder Feast and Purple Star Thunderbolt were moves that attracted his attention. The real killer move was the ball of divine ice threads surrounding the purple lotus. After the purple lotus exploded, the divine ice threads dispersed, surrounding Sun Tianyang from all directions. After all, a second-level peak Holy King was too powerful. Su Yu had no choice but to prepare. Shaking his head, Su Yu's eyes were cold. You do not need to know. Ice Seal World. Crack. Suddenly, countless divine ice threads released a frightening cold energy. In an instant, a human-shaped ice mountain appeared in front of the audience. Sun Tianyang, who was within the ice mountain, still maintained his cold expression. Purple Star Thunderbolt! Without waiting for the audience to be shocked, Su Yu struck again. He used his full power for a Purple Star Thunderbolt. The frozen Sun Tianyang was trapped in a brilliant purple lightning. Chapter 122. Sun Tianyang, who was sealed in ice, suddenly opened his eyes. Rumble. The purple light covered the sun and thunder rumbled. Even a third-level Holy King would not be able to withstand the power of the Purple Star Thunderbolt without resistance. However, Su Yu did not rejoice at the success of his attack. Instead, his expression turned serious and he retreated without hesitation. Clang! Just as Su Yu retreated, an iron fist flew out from within the purple light, heading straight for Su Yu's face. Su Yu's expression changed. He flicked his fingers and the divine ice threads danced, blocking the iron fist. Looking over, the dust covering the sky dissipated. A faint golden glow appeared on the surface of Sun Tianyang's body, as if his skin was plated with a layer of bronze. The divine ice threads that could cut through anything could not penetrate even half an inch after shattering the ice. The hardness of his skin was unparalleled. Could it be the golden transformation mantra, the secret body refining technique deep within the depository? An inner sanctum disciple in the corner exclaimed. The golden transformation mantra was a remnant of a legacy-level technique and the only secret body refining technique in the faction. After cultivating it, one would be invulnerable, impervious to fire and water, and have a body as hard as steel. In just 1 month, Sun Tianyang managed to cultivate the first layer of this remnant scroll to the lower mastery. Even though he had the Great Elder's personal guidance and teachings, as well as the cooperation of many body-tempering materials, Sun Tianyang's own comprehension is also very important. Otherwise, if he couldn't even comprehend the Great Elder's experience, how could he cultivate it? The woman at the side was envious. With the guidance of a master, the path of cultivation is like walking on flat ground. Without guidance, no matter how strong Sun Tianyang's level of perception is, he would not be able to comprehend a legacy-level technique without at least 2 years of foundation. Suddenly, the woman smiled. Of course, Mo Wu being the direct disciple of the second elder is also enviable. Mo Wu declined to comment. Her beautiful eyes landed on Su Yu. Her gaze was complicated, and she muttered softly, "Are you jealous? Maybe." However, the Purple Star Thunderbolt was still a Stage 1 upper-class legacy-level technique. Although Sun Tianyang had used the Golden Transformation Mantra in time, he was still injured. His flesh was charred, emitting a pungent smell. The intense pain caused Sun Tianyang's indifferent face to contort slightly. His brows furrowed, and for the first time, his voice was filled with emotion. "You deserve to die." In his eyes, Su Yu, who did not even have the right to attack him, had actually injured him. Both his body and mind were stimulated. "Open!" With a low roar, Sun Tianyang's body shook violently, and he actually shook off all the divine ice threads. The frightening blood energy traveled along the divine ice threads to Su Yu's body. Rub, rub, rub. Su Yu's whole body shook violently, and he retreated continuously. He had to retreat 9 steps before he could resolve the hidden force in his body. However, his internal organs were still trembling slightly, and a mouthful of blood was suppressed in his throat. In the end, the gap between their realms was too great. There was an absolute gap between a level 1 upper tier and a level 2 peak. Whoosh! Sun Tianyang's eyes were filled with hatred, and his killing intent could be vaguely seen. His figure was as fast as a stream of light. Su Yu's expression changed slightly, and he opened his icy divine wings. Just as he was about to fly away, Sun Tianyang's figure flashed and a bronze-colored fist smashed towards him. The splashing energy brushed past Su Yu's cheeks, and he felt as if he was being cut by a knife, causing him great pain. If he were to face this fist head-on, wouldn't he be severely injured and defeated? Would this be the end of him? He would never be able to cross the iron bridge, cross the boundary between the inner and outer realms, and be separated from Siener for a long time? Would he have to watch as Siener married someone else? As the wind blew, Su Yu's silver hair danced wildly, and his deep eyes flickered violently. Was he really at the end of the road? Countless spectators from the outer sanctum were dumbfounded. Zhao Wuxia was shocked for a long time. Su Yu's strength had shaken his soul. If it had been him, he would have been utterly defeated by the last move, Ice-Sealing World. It turned out that in the Fallen Star contest, there was still a strong opponent that he had missed. But seeing Su Yu at the end of his rope, Zhao Wuxia sighed regretfully. In the end, I still lost. In the corner, the inner sanctum disciples. Sigh, the contest is over, what a pity. The woman felt sorry for Su Yu. He had the chance to fight for the pearl with 9 dragons, accept the icy pearls test, and step into the inner sanctum. Unfortunately, he had met Sun Tianyang. Mo Wu stared at Su Yu, and lightly turned around. Let's go, you're just SOSO. The woman at the side was stunned. Who was just SOSO referring to? Su Yu? Mo Wu did not know him, so why was she sighing in disappointment? Rumble. Sun Tianyang attacked with his palm, a bronze fist, terrifying and powerful. Dodging with all his might, Su Yu barely managed to brush past. Crack, but just a brush had broken Su Yu's arm. Su Yu groaned in pain, his heart crying out in dissatisfaction. Ding-dong! A shred of residual energy splashed into the icy azure lake, splashing onto Su Yu's arm. Crack! The shockingly cold waves actually froze his arm into ice. A strange light flashed in his eyes. Boom! Sun Tianyang followed up with a second punch, his sinister eyes filled with coldness. This is the last punch, kneel. However, Su Yu's solemn expression gradually changed, and he was in high spirits. It's not over yet. Su Yu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his silver hair dancing wildly, accompanied by an equally crazed gaze. Creak! A divine ice thread shot out from Su Yu's palm, entering the icy azure lake beneath the bridge. Just the cold air on the surface of the lake was enough to intimidate a second-level lower-tier holy king, let alone the true icy lake water. Crack! The terrifying cold air 10 times that of the air followed the divine ice thread and entered Su Yu's body, freezing his organs. Su Yu felt a bone-piercing pain. He used the chilly energy to activate Sigh of Ice to accelerate the absorption of spiritual energy. That day, when he was cornered by the silver-clothed guards of the Empire of Darkness, he had used the cold air sealed in ice to activate Sigh of Ice to achieve a breakthrough. Buzz! Once activated, under the terrifying cold air, Su Yu's speed of absorbing spirit energy doubled. In addition, the spirit energy here was 10 times that of the outside world. No, the spirit energy in the lake was 20 times that of the outside world. It mixed with the cold air and was absorbed into Su Yu's body through the divine ice thread. Thump! The bottleneck of his cultivation base was like a tottering tree, about to collapse. Just a little more. But Sun Tianyang's palm had already arrived. Calmly glancing at Su Yu's state, Sun Tianyang coldly grunted, "It's useless. You can't break through in time." Rumble, but just as the punch was about to land, Su Yu gritted his teeth, growling, "Ice-Sealing World." Creak! Countless divine ice threads shot out from Su Yu's ring. Sun Tianyang was disdainful, using the same old trick, useless struggle. Sun Tianyang was speechless, his expression slightly stunned. Su Yu had not sealed him in ice, but he had sealed himself in ice. 10 divine ice threads wrapped around him, binding his body. But the other end was shot into the icy azure lake. Crack, crack. 10 divine ice threads, including the first one, made a total of 11. Suyu absorbed the cold air 10 times faster, activating Sigh of Ice. In the blink of an eye, he turned into an ice mountain. However, it was like a whale swallowing spiritual chi, shocking everyone. A vortex of spirit energy appeared on top of Suyu's head, crazily entering his body. The inner sanctum disciple, who had turned to leave, felt the commotion behind him and turned back. Mo Wu's pupils dilated. Is he crazy? If he absorbs the cold air like this, I'm afraid his life will be extinguished before he can achieve a breakthrough in his cultivation base. Zhao Wuxia's expression was grave. He is too crazy. Sun Tianyang was also deeply shocked. Su Yu did not care about his life? It was tempting to enter the inner sanctum. But if he lost his life, what was the point of obtaining the qualifications to enter the inner sanctum? That thought only flashed past his heart before it was replaced by coldness. Such madness! If he was given the chance to enter the inner sanctum, he would be a formidable opponent. With me here, you have no chance of entering the inner sanctum. Sun Tianyang's palm shattered the ice mountain, pressing down on Su Yu's head. And Su Yu had not had the time to break through. Just a little more. The battle at the icy lake had come to an end. But at this moment, all of a sudden, Su Yu extended 2 fingers, pointed at his eyes, and removed 2 thin membranes. A pair of purple pupils suddenly appeared. Seal of time. Time and space froze, heaven and earth stilled. Sun Tianyang's body froze on the spot, like a wooden statue. That terrifying palm was only a few inches away from Su Yu's head. After a breath's time, Sun Tianyang regained control of his body. His expression changed. Kneel. A trace of fear and anxiety appeared in his trembling voice. His body actually fell into a state of space-time freezing in an instant. He could not let Su Yu enter the inner sanctum. He reformed his palm and once again struck Su Yu's head. But in a breath's time, the crazed Su Yu finally completed his breakthrough. Buzz, 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 a vast and powerful aura shot up into the sky. Boundless air currents rolled. A powerful life force filled the surroundings. Purple. Star. God. Thunder. A cold grunt reverberated through the clouds. It was as if a sleeping dragon had finally awakened, letting out a resonant roar that shook the heavens. Boom, boom, a bewitching purple lotus far more beautiful than it had ever been before. Quiet, beautiful, yet soul-stirring. At the moment of the explosion, it was as if lightning had descended. It was deafening, shaking the wilderness. Not just the icy star, but the 17 stars, the inner sanctum stars, and the entire Lucian faction reverberated with the mighty roar of thunder. Energy waves swept the sky, dust flying everywhere. The waves of the icy azure lake roared angrily, cold waves flying everywhere. The 3 bridges swayed, as if they were about to collapse from the boundless lightning. Puff! A figure was blasted 100 meters away. From the surface of the icy lake, he flew 100 meters into the sky, landing on the ground. Thump! The sound of the crash was like a meteorite crashing into the ground. Everyone looked over. Sun Tianyang's mouth was full of blood, smashed into the granite on the ground, unconscious, his life or death unknown. Su Yu, a first-level peak holy king, was so terrifying? After the absolute cultivation level suppression was weakened, Su Yu's battle power was astonishing. The sound of people sucking in a breath of cold air was like a tidal wave. The newly promoted number 1 fighter of the inner sanctum, Sun Tianyang, had been defeated. A moment ago, he had crushed Su Yu. A moment later, he had been utterly defeated. Su Yu was vivid and shocking. He had taught everyone a lesson. In a hopeless situation, in the darkness, in the midst of despair, he had fought back with all his might, using the craziness of his life to fight back against fate. At that moment, no one could remain calm, their hearts and souls trembling. staring at the metal bridge. Su Yu, who was panting and trembling, felt oppressed. Why could he be so crazy, so disregard his life, and so defy fate in this battle? Perhaps many years later, they would never forget a silver-haired figure in purple. Stunning and dazzling, superior to the sun, moon, and stars. They would never be able to forget that the stunning thing was not the dazzling purple star thunderbolt, nor was it the high cultivation level, but the defiance of fate, the defying will to break through the shackles.